After we completed the Dagannoth King's rings, we are now on a bit of a training arc for 416 Hero. We are going to need points to imbue our new rings, as well as other things like the Black Mask and in the future a Ring of Suffering. Now I know there are other methods to imbue things nowadays which are arguably better. However, I'm choosing to do Nightmare Zone because I'm pretty much knocking out two things at once here. I'm getting my stats up and I'm getting the points I need. Also, because Nightmare Zone is so AFK, this opens up the door for me to accomplish some things on the other account. With that being said, this is my first time here, so I gotta start off with my own supplies, super combats, and prayer pots to get ourselves some starting points. Now, it's been a long time since I've done Nightmare Zone, so I wonder where the optimal place to stand is. Okay, I just wasted some GP there. I had this list set up, but I guess it didn't save. Maybe I didn't press accept, so now I have to redo this. But looking at this list, looks like we are now good to go. Okay, so now that we have that set up, the question is, what are we going to be doing on Wait For It? Well, I'm geared up in more or less max range with a Zerite crossbow, and this is because we're going to go do Leviathan. On this account, out of all the DT2 bosses, the only ring I'm missing is the Venator, so let's go after that. Our starting KC is 293, and yes, if we take a look at our log here, I did massively spoon the lure, but unfortunately I don't have any of the other axe pieces from the other bosses. The Venator Vestige is a 1 in 768, so we should be expecting to be here for quite some time actually, about 500 KC. First KC, and we are getting a supply drop. And another supply drop. I guess this first trip's gonna last for quite a bit. To be honest, all the DT2 bosses are pretty enjoyable. I think they did a really good job with them. But for whatever reason, I never hard camped a Levy. The 300 or so KC I have so far, I've always done sporadically, like 5 or 10 here and there. This time around, I do plan on staying at Levy until I get the Venator drop. So, we're going to be here for the next 500 KC or so, ideally, if not more. We'll just see how that plays out. Final KC of the trip. Adamant Ore. We still got a ton of food, but we don't have prayer left, unfortunately, so that's why we gotta TP out. Okay, now that we have a bit of time here between the first trip and the next, let's talk about the Zerite crossbow with the ruby bolts and switching over to the twisted bow. So ideally, you want to actually switch to the toxic blowpipe instead of the T-bow, but I like to bring the T-bow just because amethyst arrows are cheap, so I don't have to deal with Zulrah scales and amethyst darts, and I like the range and 5 tick of the twisted bow. I can use it during the lightning phase, whereas with the blowpipe that's going to be a little bit different. Now you switch over from the Zerite crossbow to the twisted bow, assuming no Venator ring, at 380 HP. I'm sure if you really crunch the numbers, it's a different threshold to switch to the T-bow instead of the blowpipe, but I'll just go with the 380 number. One more thing, ideally I'd want to be using Ruby Dragon bolts, but I'm just being cheap and I'm using the Addy ones instead. Quick update on 416 Hero, we just came out of our first Nightmare Zone session and we got 325,000 points. We should now be able to just use the overloads and the absorption pots rather than our own divine super combats and prayer pots, because that's going to be expensive. So at this point, obviously we don't need the prayer anymore, so we're going to be switching into our Blood Moon set. And I ran the numbers, and apparently the dualies are going to be better for most of the mobs that we're going to be fighting instead of the Blade of Saeldor. We're making a quick pit stop at Rohak here to pick up this Dwarven Rock Cake. Apparently I must have just got rid of my first one. We're going to be utilizing the Rock Cake in our Nightmare Zone sessions. Ooh, Sandwich Lady. Baguette? Baguette chance. Never. But yes, the Rock Cake is going to bring our health down as low as possible. And obviously, mobs can't hit you for more than the health that you have. So by keeping our HP low, this is just a small optimization to save on our absorption pots and stay in the instance for longer. After spending our points on the overloads and absorption pots that we need, we now have 209k reward points remaining. In order to imbue our Berserker ring, we're going to need 650k points. So with that being said, let's get back in there. Anyways, now that we're set up in Nightmare Zone once again, let's continue the Levy grind. The first KC of this trip actually put us at 300 KC. So the last time we turned our focus over to Wait For It and progressing on this account, we were doing Fasani's Nightmare. And it's such a jarring difference because the average KC here at Levy is about 2 minutes, I'd say. Maybe even less than that. Whereas at Fasani's, it was probably like closer to 8 minutes. So this grind is just going to be so much quicker. Something I thought about is that aside from getting the Venator ring, any chromium ingots that I might get are actually going to be beneficial now. I already do have the chromium ingots I need, so that when I pull the Venator Visage, I'll be able to make the ring right away. But any chromium ingots I get from this point on can be put forth for the rings for 416 Hero. Mildly interesting, but I got a Longbone drop in Nightmare Zone. I wonder what that was from. Maybe the Skeletal Hellhound? I don't know what our exact KC per hour is, but I think it's safe to assume that we can easily achieve a rate of 20 KC per hour. And under that assumption, we need about another 500 KC or so, right? So that's about a 25-hour grind. Comparing this to the Fasani's grind, that is not bad at all. Assuming we're gonna get pretty average luck, we should be done within a week. Or maybe just over a week. Ooh, we get an Awakener's Orb. No use for that on this account, but maybe in the future. We have Blorva plans for 416 Hero, perhaps? Just came out of the Nightmare Zone session with 789,000 points. The good news is we have enough points to imbue our Imbued Heart, as well as some leftover points to re-up on our supplies to do another session. I am debating whether or not it's worth it to camp the Blood Moon set in there. Obviously the EXP is the best available that we can get, but repairing the Blood Moon set is pretty expensive. I think for now I'm going to head back in with the set on, and then we will cry about the GP cost later. Now that we have the imbued Berserker ring, our EXP and our points per hour should go up. Ooh, collection log, we got our Smoke Quartz. Not sure what the drop rate on that is, but I'm surprised I haven't had it yet. The Smoke Quartz was a 1 in 206, so I guess we were unlucky on that. Another orb. Our last one was only 15 KC ago. I was in the middle of a Levy KC, so I couldn't quite catch it live, but a couple of seconds ago, we just hit level 95 strength. We're inching closer and closer to that 99 strength. For the next goal that I want to work on, it's pretty important that I get as high of a strength level as I can. What will come first, 99 strength on this account, or the Venator Visage on Wait For It? I'm not sure how many KCs I've done this trip so far, but I just keep getting a supply drop over and over, and it just extends the trip. I'm going to call it here as far as this first session of Levy goes. We're stopping at 349 KC, and I think we've done about 56 KC in this session, so not too bad. We got a couple of Awakener's Orbs and the Smoke Quartz. Just came out of another session, and I've switched up the gear. I'm going back to the Blade of Saeldor, and I'm wearing some Rune Plate and the Berserker Helm. This is simply just to save the Blood Moon charges. I figured, hey, I'm not really in a rush. I'm just working on Levy on the other account right now, so let's just save ourselves the GP. And we are back. I've placed 416 Hero in another Nightmare Zone session, and we're heading back to Levy. My first ZCB spec missed, so that might not be a good sign. First KC, Dragon Bolts. Nice. What the? After going dry on the first Smoke Quartz, we get a second one not that much later. Remember earlier when I said I'd probably get the Venator ring before I hit 99 strength on 416 Hero? Well, I really didn't account for the fact that sometimes I just stand around at the bank doing nothing. Meanwhile, 416 Hero is just constantly gaining strength EXP, because I glance over right now, and I'm a solid 40% of the way to 96 strength already. So as for what's going to come first, I'm not so sure anymore. We'll just have to see. I guess I AFK'd a little too hard and didn't get my full money's worth for that Nightmare Zone session. But that's okay, we got more than enough points. And with that being said, let's imbue the Archer's Ring. And then let's re-up on our supplies. Another smoke quartz orb. So that was KC 384, which is halfway to the Venator drop rate. So far on this trip, I think I've gotten a supply drop 3 KCs in a row. Just look at my inventory. I can't even hold everything right now. 400 KC, we get 101 gold ore. Okay, it's actually a new day right now. I'm back at Nightmare Zone on 416 Hero. We're gonna probably reach 96 strength today. And obviously what you're seeing, I'm back at Levy. We're at an even 400 KC right now, so let's see what we can get to. Holy, I just tied my PB. Ooh, a chromium ingot. I need to check exactly how many I have, but like I said before, I have more than enough for the Venator ring. The question is, how many chromium ingots do I have to spare for 416 Hero when the time comes? We now have 1.1 million Nightmare Zone points, so we can now imbue the last of our Dagannoth King rings, the Sears ring. KC number 450, we are getting 4 anglerfish. Okay, I just jinxed myself. I was saying earlier in the clan chat, knock on wood, but I actually haven't died yet in my last 160 KC, which is pretty much the start of the grind, right? And now I'm dead. We've been burning through Addy Ruby bolts at Levy, so here I am at the Prith, Bank, and Anvil here to restock on some. I'm actually fighting for my life at Leviathan on Wait For It right now, but we have the POV switched over to 416 because, well, I kind of missed it, but you can see it in the chat box. We hit 100 combat, 1725 total, and that's because we hit 96 strength. 100 combat is actually a major milestone for us because that will enable us to do, I believe, the Western Hard Diary, which means the Crystal Halberd and Elite Void, I believe, actually, as well. And for our 500th KC, what are we going to get here? A supply drop. Well, I guess we can do another KC before we end the trip. Just came out of another Nightmare Zone session, and now we have a ton of points, 1.9 mil to be exact. And that means we can imbue our Black Mass for a total of 1.25 mil. That's a lot of points, actually. And then let's just get set up again. We're currently 96 strength with 866k EXP to go till 97. The first Onyx Bolt Tip drop in a while. Looks so good with the loot beam, honestly. Alright, we're going to end off here on KC 550. It was a pretty big sesh. We started out at KC 463, so we knocked out actually almost 100. A 4th smoke quartz. I just checked out how the quartz drop works, and it's a 1 in 200 drop. But if you still haven't received your first one, for every KC you are over, it becomes increasingly more common. It doesn't make sense why I've gotten so many quartz after the fact though, because once you got your first drop, it resets back to a 1 in 200. So I guess I'm just lucky on the quartz rolls. No way I get another smoke quartz. What are we up to now? 5 of them. What is going on? I got chomped. No. But yeah, I went back and actually checked. I got my first smoke quartz at 336 KC. Now at 575, we have a total of 5 of them. I don't know how long it's been since I last did Tears of Guthix. I kind of just forgot about it. But here we go. We jumped from 45 to 47 runecrafting. Now runecrafting is the last skill that is below our 50 defense. So we have to keep our eye out on that. And not accidentally do Tears of Guthix and ruin our 50 defense. Oh snap, I didn't even realize I've just been autopiloting, but we are at 601 KC. I missed the 600 milestone. And punished for typing mid-kill. With just under 2.5 mil Nightmare Zone points, we have enough to imbue the remaining items that are the Ring of the Gods, the Ring of Suffering, and I believe the Salve Amulet, which I don't actually have any of these items yet. With that being said, for the rest of the strength training, we're gonna head back to Ammonite Crabs. I just got a 270 raw manta ray drop, and I feel like that's the first time I've seen that. It's been about 50 KC or so, and it's been pretty quiet. Aside from breaking a new PB at 101 now, which I don't think we're going to be breaking for a while. Not much has really gone on. Over on 416 here, I am back in Nightmare Zone, and this is just because at the time I couldn't find a free crab spot. But we are approaching 97 strength, and our original goal was 99. However, the content that I'm training up for, I found out that the difference between 97 strength and 99, well, there is no difference. So when we hit 97 strength, I'm going to switch over to some range training. I'd be moving on to the next content by now if I had the ring, but unfortunately we haven't hit the rate yet. And even when we do hit the rate, there's no guarantee that we're going to get the drop. So I'm going to have to keep chipping away at that. And with that final swing, 97 strength, let's get out of this Nightmare Zone instance. We're going to turn our attention fully on Leviathan now and getting the Venator ring. At this point, I'm just committed to the grind. Just know that in the background, we're going to be working on range, which we're only 28k EXP away from hitting 90 actually. And at some point, we're going to head back to Nightmare Zone with a Venator bow, as I think that's actually a really good training strategy. I was recording the wrong screen earlier, but on KC690, we got yet another smoke quartz. That makes the 6th one. It's a little bit of a troll, honestly. Oh man, this hasn't happened in a long time, but I think I just had a double death. The thing is, I didn't see any loot, and looking at my loot tracker, I'm not sure any loot registered. So we may have dodged a bullet there in terms of potentially getting a drop and then missing it. I don't believe that counted as a KC. That was a 3-minute 9-second kill, by far the slowest I've ever seen. For whatever reason, I'm not sure what happened there. But that was 700 KC. Ooh, another chromium ingot. Here we go, KC 768, exactly on rate. And we get uncut diamonds that I don't have room for, what the heck. And that was 800 KC, we get 38 emeralds. Orb. Sometimes I have these moments in the middle of a grind where I think to myself, how did I manage to get to where I am as an Iron Man, knowing how drops work in this game? There's just no guarantee for anything. You can get a drop at 1 KC or 5,000. And that's daunting to think about. But when we get the drop, it just hits like crack. Not that I know what crack is like. I know I said I'd get the ring before I move on to anything else. And I'm barely over the rate right now. But I've camped Levy for over 500 KC now, and I'm getting burnt out from it. I think it's mostly just because I know this ring isn't really all that useful. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm throwing in the towel at KC 843 for now, and we'll come back when I feel refreshed for Levy again. A little while ago, I discovered that my Pure now has access to everything my maxed account has. There are no restrictions anymore. Ever since that moment, I've been secretly working towards this goal. During our Levy grind, we were training our stats up to prepare for this moment. I said things could get wacky, and here we are. Today, we take on the Colosseum. We're just outside the Fortis Colosseum now, and we are looking different on 416 Hero. Let's break down the gear setup real quick. Obviously, we traded over a ton of items from Wait For It. So for some context here, I kind of mirrored the setup that I used to use on Wait For It for my Colosseum runs, except for those runs, I used to use a combination of Scythe and Shadow. On this account, I'm not going to be using the Shadow. I figured, we're not going to have access to Ancestral. In my mind, I'm thinking my range setup will be better than the mage setup. So with that being said, we're rocking the Twisted Bow with the Eclipse top and bottom, with the Necklace of Anguish and the Zerite Vambraces, wearing the Arania boots, which will be beneficial for both melee and range. For our melee gear, we have the Scythe, rocking full Blood Moon with an Amulet of Rancor, our Fire Cape, and Barrow's Gloves. The other items we have in our inventory is the Sanguinesti Staff, just a one-way mage switch to two-shot the melee Fremi. We don't have the gear set up to one-shot the Fremis anyways, so just a one-way switch to two-shot them will be more than enough. We have the Saradomin Godsword to deal with the mage Fremi as well as just general healing and spec regen, and we have the Venator Bow to deal with the mage Fremi. For our spellbook, we are on the Archaea spellbook running Thralls and Death Charge. Unfortunately, we haven't even touched TOA yet, so our rune pouch is only the default 3-slot one, and as such, we have death runes and soul runes outside of the rune pouch. And of course, we need the Book of the Dead for thralls. To be honest, I'm not sure if this setup is going to work well for us, because like I said, this is just a mirrored match with the setup I had on Wait For It, which, as you know, is drastically different. One account is max combat stat, and the other is a 50 defense account. There are two potential problems I see right now with this inventory for this account. For one thing, we only have 4 brews, so the margin for error is very slim. And we do have 8 restores, however, this is a 63 prayer account. I guess without thinking too hard about it and just yapping standing outside of the Coliseum, let's just go ahead and do a test run. Here we go, entering the Fortis Coliseum for the very first time. Now, it's been quite some time since I last did the Coliseum. I more recently did the Inferno again. So we're just going to have to see how this goes. Alright, mistakes were made already. We forgot to charge the Sanguinesti Saf. So let's just do wave 1 and get out of here. Well, it looks like we're going to be getting a collection log after wave 1, because there it is, Sunfire Splinters. The painful thing about first starting to do the Coliseum is that you don't get access to the bank chest that's inside. So you have to go outside, then back in. But anyways, our Sang Staff is now charged. I want to say we have everything we need to send these attempts. So now let's get to it. Oops. So to be honest, that was a pretty silly first death. I just forgot which way you were supposed to run out of the pillar to off-tick them, and to be honest, if I was more careful, I should have took the time to figure that out before I just ran out. Good thing we're not a hardcore. Here we go, attempt number 2, I guess. Honestly, very unfortunate that I wasn't able to clip this in time, but attempt number 2 is over and done with already. I was very casually melee flicking the melee backup, the reinforcement, and I misflicked one time and it just specced me out from full HP to 0. That is the 50 defense for you. Despite how these first 2 quote-unquote attempts have played out, I actually feel pretty confident in this, so we'll see how this plays out. I just have to lock in, really. Okay, so that was a very arrogant Wave 6. If you've done Coliseum before, or even watched enough of it, you'll know that Wave 6 is actually pretty difficult. Or rather, it can be. Sometimes it just comes down to RNG on where the spawns are. We're going to make a slight adjustment to our setup. We're swapping out the Lightbearer in favor of the Berserker Ring. Terrible modifiers on wave 2. Well, at least we get some loot out of it. And we're dead. What are these invocations, man? Oh, this is the annoying part. It takes me like 10 to 15 minutes just to get to wave 6 because I do know DPS. And in wave 6, not gonna lie, at least for me, it comes down to a little bit of RNG on whether we get the double south spawn or not. Makes a huge difference. I guess we gotta be disciplined here and just claim our loot, because Frailty, Re-entry, and Doom are modifiers that I do not want. So we're a few attempts in now, and I've noticed that in certain situations I prefer using the Twisted Bow over the Scythe. I think I'm being influenced by that one situation earlier where I misflicked once and got absolutely destroyed by the Jaguar Warrior. Once again, we've made it to wave 6. And the modifiers are terrible. What are these modifiers, bro? It just gets worse. We're on wave 5. We didn't even make it to 6. Okay, I said this last time. I saw the next wave loot and I wanted it, but then I died. But this time, it's going to be different. Okay, we did the extra wave without dying, we claim our loot, and we reset. I've been messing around with the DPS calculations just to see if I can optimize my inventory a bit more, and I've learned that I can drop the Blood Moon top and legs. Wearing the Eclipse top and legs will give me the same melee DPS. This will also make the switching for the Fremnik Warbands much easier. Just gonna claim. I kind of messed up by eating the Jaguar Warrior spec again, so... Also, I just realized I unlocked the bank chest finally. Man, I choked. I had that solved, but I choked. So that run, I just came back from dinner and I sent one and we made it all the way to wave 10. It was a bit of a dicey situation, but I actually had the major reinforcement and the ranger off tick, and the Minotaur was safe spotted behind the ranger. Unfortunately though, I was under a lot of pressure there and I just kind of choked and I couldn't flick. But that was by far our best run yet, so that's good news, I guess. That was very dumb. I don't know what I was thinking. No, what? Oh my, that was it, man. Man, that was so tragic. I had a good wave 11 spawn there, and all I had to do was get rid of the Fremniks while I flicked that one Manticore. I was so focused on the Manticore that I ate a 20 from one of the Fremniks. I think it was the Ranger. So looking at my supplies, I can 100% burn more of my restores. I guess I'll try to use my offensive prayers a bit more so that we can get back to wave 11 quicker. That last run getting the wave 11, I think that took us about 34 minutes maybe, so pretty lengthy process. Obviously, it really hurts to throw a wave 11 like that, but in the grand scheme of things, it is a confidence booster. When I first decided to take on the Colosseum, I honestly wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do this. But seeing how we got to wave 11 with all the supplies we had, I'm pretty sure I can do it now. No way! Wait, did I just misflick the Manticore? What happened there? So I did press Pray Melee for the last Manticore orb. I pressed Pray Mage again too quickly. That is unfortunate. What are these clicks, bro? Ooh. Oh man, I held my breath for like half that fight, I swear. We did it. I need to take a second here. I'm like, I can't even talk. It's so crazy. Like, I've done this, I don't know, 14, 15 times. But on a new account, first KC on a new account, 50 defense, 63 prayer. Oh man. Look at that quiver. Let's take a look at the stats here. So 108 waves completed, but the first time we made to soul, we made it count. 1 for 1. 13 deaths, and honestly, a lot of them were silly. Even some like pretty early ones. I think I had like a couple of pre-wave 6 deaths. Honestly, on the very first day I was sending these attempts, I was pretty tired, and I probably should have just went to bed and started the next day. But here we are on day 2, bright and early, and we got it done. Let's take a look at the glory here, which is essentially a points-based system in the Fortis Coliseum. After the completion of Soul Heritage there, we got a personal glory PB of 3,618. At the bottom here, we can see some of the things that we have unlocked. We have access to the bank right here at the Coliseum. We can now choose the Fortis respawn point. We have improved price for stolen goods. That's for thieving, I believe. We can now use the Coliseum Ring of Dueling teleport. We have the herb patch protection. And honestly, the best thing, we have the emote. Where is it? Near the bottom. Little random to think about, but it's kind of funny that the first thing I use the quiver for is a chompy bird hunting grind. I haven't used it anywhere else yet. When we were training up our stats to prepare for the Coliseum, we managed to hit 100 combat. 100 combat is important because what that means is we can now do the Western Hard Diary, which will unlock Elite Void for us. Elite Void is going to be important for Theater of the Blood, namely, and just the rest of range training going from 93 to 99. So I'm going to get started on the Western Hard Diaries. Well, first we got to do the mediums too, actually. But one of the things that's time gated is to plant and grow a palm tree seed here in Letya. So I'm doing this in advance, and we'll check back in later. So right now in real time, this is actually the same day as my Coliseum completion, just a few hours later in the day. Having done that Coliseum grind, I'm feeling pretty cooked right now, so I think I'm going to chill at Barbarian Fishing for the rest of the day. With that being said, we're currently at 88 fishing with 190k EXP to go till 89. And as you know, with Barbarian Fishing, you're also going to gain Strength and Agility EXP. It's nice to be doing Barbarian Fishing before we hit 99 Strength, just for that little bit of macro efficiency. Although, you know, we're not really going to get from 97 to 98 Strength, I don't think, off of fishing. However, with Agility at 76, I do think with enough fishing, we're going to hit 77. But yeah, I think after today, we're going to get started on the Western Medium and Western Hard Diaries. Also, just one more quick note. I'm sure that after you've seen the Quiver grind, naturally, you're going to think, oh, are you going to do the Inferno as well? And the answer is yes. However, we need to work on our range levels, and especially our magic levels. We're currently at 83 magic, so we don't even have access to Ice Barrage, which is pretty important for the Inferno. So before we can even start sending Inferno attempts, we're going to have to knock out a few things so that we can better train range and better train magic. Alright, it's a new day now, and I'm ready to get started on these diaries. As you know with diaries, sometimes there are skill requirements and quest requirements. Well, we gotta get started on a few quests. First quest we're going to be doing is Eagle's Peak, which will require some coins, which we have on us, Swamp Tar, and Yellow Dye, which we don't have, but I'll go pick up. If I remember right, we just give Aggie some onions, and yep, Yellow Dye. Got everything we need, and we're on to Charlie at the RD Zoo to get started. Doing the quest here, and this is something I definitely slacked on this account, and that's just multi-skilling while I'm doing other things. So right now, I'm trying to get back on top of that, especially since I need magic levels. I'm going to be high alching. I think the gist of this quest is we're just rescuing this guy right here, Nikolaus, because he's trapped behind the eagles. Made ourselves a disguise. We got the fake beak and the cape. And a random event that we're not going to do right now. But anyways, we gotta sneak past the eagle and give Nikolaus a costume of his own or a disguise. So I believe the completion of this quest does enable you to start catching rabbits and gives you the access to the eagle transport, which is actually not commonly used. Oh, and the biggest thing actually is the ability to use box traps. So we can start hunting chins on this account if we want. But there it is, Eagle's Peak completed. I think that was the only quest I had to do in order to do the Western Province's medium diary. So let's just go ahead and collect all the items we need, and then let's get started on the task. One of the things we need is a big fishing net. I swear I always end up needing one, but I never keep one in my bank. But there we go. We Nightmare Zone TP to Yanil, a familiar place. We've been here for quite some time recently, and we're heading on over to the Hunter Shop. And from one of these NPCs, Alex, we're gonna pick up the teasing stick. Everything else we need is either already in our bank or we can pick up along the way. Over at the Gnome Stronghold, we gotta make a chocolate bomb real quick. So we gotta pick up some supplies here from the Grand Tree Groceries. We're gonna need the Gnome Bowl mold, the dough, some leaves, and 2 pots of cream down here. All right, this is gonna be a 5-step process. Use the dough on the mold, use the gnome bowl on the cooker. There we go. Now we're going to add the chocolate bars into the bowl, I think. Oh, wait. Oh, instead of right-click use, we just left-click prepare on the half-baked bowl. That makes it easier, and chocolate bomb. There we have it. Now we just add the 2 pots of cream to it. Well, this is a terrible step-by-step instructional video. We got to put it back in the cooker. Now we add the pot of cream and chocolate dust. There we go. Now we got to complete a delivery for the Gnome restaurant. I think this part always confuses me, so let me figure this out. Yeah, so I'm asking this guy for a job, for a delivery job, and he says I don't meet the required training yet. So let me figure that part out. So there's 2 sets of training we have to do here. One is the cooking one, and one is the bartending one, I think. Part 1 of the training, we had to make some toad crunchies, which we have. Oh, apparently training with this guy is not a one and done thing. Now we gotta make some more stuff. Choco chip crunchies have been made. It just keeps going. All right, some toad batter has been made. What? Cheese and tomato. All right, now he says I am ready. Okay. We are done with the cooking training. Now let's head on over to the other side, to the bar, to get some training over there. First thing he wants is a fruit blast. Next up, a pineapple punch. And now he wants a wizard blizzard. Well, he says one final test, and that's to make a SGG, whatever that stands for. Short green guy. Wow, it turns out you actually get information when you bother to read. All right, after all of that, we can now go ahead and do the delivery that we came here for. You know, I probably had trouble with this in the past because I just didn't read and didn't realize that we had to do the training. Okay, we have a time limit on this delivery. We got to go make a pineapple punch. Pineapple punch has been made, and conveniently, it's this guy right here that I bought all the ingredients from that wants the punch. So there we go. And I believe that is the task completed. Pretty sure that cooking portion took most of the time that we're going to need. Everything else should be lightning fast. So next up, we mine some gold ore underneath the Grand Tree. I said lightning fast, as we're slowly... Oh, there we go. Next task is to take this shortcut from the Grand Tree to Otto's Grotto, which I actually used to use this shortcut quite a bit, and that was before I looked at the minimap and realized that the Barbarian Assault place is a lot closer to Otto's Grotto than that route. Actually, now that I'm super zoomed out, I don't know. It's about the same. This next task was the reason why we had to do Eagle's Peak. I think the task itself was to use the Eagle transportation system. The teasing stick we got earlier used to bait this whatever this is over here. Oh, and I'm supposed to jump over it. Oops. And come on down, just like that. Next up, just got to use the glider to head on over to Feldip Hills, which I think is this one. There it is. When did they make this change? You can now right-click the ladder at the Graham tree, and there's a bottom floor option. What? I have no idea when they did this. Oh, there's even a top floor option. We're on Apatow, and we just gotta fish some bass here. I honestly should have brought one of the Gree-Grees so I wouldn't get poisoned. But all we need to do is fish one bass, so it'll be fine, right? There we go. Nice and easy. That was like the first tick. Oh, we're also here to chop some teaks. Yeah, it'll be fine, right? Okay, step 1. Teak log chopped. Step 2. Make a fire. And that's completed. Man, I don't know how I overlooked this. This is like the big thing with the Western Province Diaries, and that's the chompy bird hunting. So we're currently at 30 KC by checking our bow, and for the medium tier, we're going to need to reach 125. So I guess let's start that grind. If you're doing the Western Provinces Diaries yourself, make sure that you complete each tier and go collect your rewards between each tier. This is because with each tier that you progress, you get better rates at chompy birds. So whatever you do, do not try to knock out 1,000 chompy birds, or whatever it is for the elite, before you claim each tier. We're in Rant's Cave just to pick up a couple more bellows to fill out our inventory. Well, we're going to drop 3 here so that we have room for the toads. And then, if I'm not mistaken, instead of going outside the cave and hunting the chompy birds here, I think the better location is south of Castle Wars. Yep, just right here. Alright, I'm ready for this chompy bird grind up to 125 KC. We have geared up in our best range armor available. We're rocking the Eclipse set. We got our bear's gloves, snakeskin boots from a while ago. I could probably find something better. We got our imbued archer's ring and our new Dazana's quiver. Honestly, this combination of gear looks pretty sick. The quiver goes pretty well with the Eclipse. I mean, they did make this content at the same time, so maybe they had this in mind. Our first chompy of the session. Wow, so if you look in the chat here, I'm just yapping away with the clan chat while I'm doing my chompy bird hunting, and a couple of people are working on the Coliseum. And he's all like, never pet after just having completed a KC, right? And it looks like he traded in that quiver he got and got the pet at 37 KC. I realized I haven't really updated what I've been doing on Wait For It. So in the middle of this chompy grind, I'm currently doing some Zeah blood rune crafting. As an endgame Iron Man, you can never have enough blood runes for your Sang Staff, your Scythe, runes for thralls and barraging and all that. Basically, you never have enough. A little random to think about, but it's kind of funny that the first thing I use the quiver for is a chompy bird hunting grind. I haven't used it anywhere else yet. Okay, we went 1 KC over. We're at 126. We just needed 125. But let's get out of here. And so we're back with Rance, and this is our final task. We just have to claim a chompy bird hat from him. Should be a couple of collection logs. And we don't even have room. There we go. So that is the Western Provinces medium diary completed. Now we just got to talk to this elder gnome child to claim our EXP lamp and the Western banner too. So like we've been doing on this account, I'm going to use the EXP lamp on Slayer. A whopping 7.5k EXP. So the medium tier rewards aren't too noteworthy, to be honest. We now have the increased rate for chompy birds. So that's pretty much the only thing of note, really. Now we move on to the Western Provinces hard tier. After completion of the medium tier of the Western Provinces Achievement Diary, we can now move on to the hard tier. This is the more important one, as this is the one that will enable us to get the Elite Void and the Crystal Halberd. However, before we can get started on the actual diary tasks themselves, we're geared up in our Rogue's outfit because we need to get 75 thieving. We're currently at 73. This is because one of the tasks is to pickpocket a gnome. Other than that, I think we have all the requirements. So let's just knock out 75 thieving real quick. We're doing the thieving method here in Varlamore. It is slower EXP, but it is much lower intensity, which is what I prefer right now, so we're just going to be knocking that out here. Just hit 74 thieving, one more level to go. This is quite some time later, but we are just under 40,000 EXP to go until we hit the 75. And from that point on, we can just knock out all the Western Provinces hard diary tasks, and then head back to Pest Control and get our Elite Void. So when I first log in, I typically do the farming contract and a birdhouse run on both respective accounts. Well, when I logged in, I was in the middle of a Zeah rune crafting session. I had some of these dense essence blocks in my inventory, and I was like, you know what, let me just finish the run, right, and then go teleport to the farming guild. But I've since done 2 inventories, and I just keep mindlessly coming back to the dense runestone here to mine more. So now I gotta finish yet another inventory, and hopefully pay enough attention this time to TP out. I want to know if this is just something that happens to me, or if you guys do this too, where you just, you're supposed to TP out, but you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Varlamore thieving is so chill, this crept up on me. Last time I checked, I was 30,000 EXP away, but here we are, 75 thieving. There we go, you can now steal from gem stalls and pickpocket from gnomes. So we can now get started on the diary tasks. A little while ago, we were here in Letya and we planted a palm tree seed, which is now fully grown. So we just checked the health on that, and that is the first task completed. I don't quite remember why we did the quest Swan Song, but we had that out the way already, and we're here just to fish some monkfish. Okay, we got the monkfish, and now we're supposed to cook it. We only caught the one, so hopefully we don't burn this. And first try. Next task is to catch a dashing kebbit. So we got a falcon on us, and or I think we do. Yeah, we do. Dashing kebbit. Can't seem to find one. Oh no, there it is. And that task is completed. And here's the reason why we needed 75 thieving. Next task is to simply teleport to Ape Atoll. If I can find the teleport. Oh, it's right here. It's a level 64 spell. Ape Atoll teleport. Kind of a weird thing, because I didn't have the Gree on me and I didn't complete Monkey Madness 2 yet. I couldn't actually get out of that area, so I had to TP out, and then we're going to head back to the Gnome Stronghold and get back to Ape Atoll that way. So we're still on Ape Atoll right now, and that's because we have to chop a mahogany tree for a log and then burn it. If I actually read the diaries ahead of time, I probably could have knocked this task out last time I was here for the teak log. But there's a log, and let's light it. That is the task. I always hate navigating through this forest, but here we are, we just gotta mine some Addy ore. I seem to have alked all my rune pickaxes, so we're working with an adamant one right now. Any day now. There we go, that took like 30 seconds. The next task is to kill an elf with a crystal bow, and this just reminded me earlier when we first did roving elves, and I couldn't decide between the crystal bow or the crystal shield. Only to realize that because I'm a 50 defense account, I can't even use the crystal shield. We're currently here at Pest Control in the veteran boat, which requires at least level 100 combat. We're not going to camp it, we're just going to do the one game for the diary task, and then we will come back later to grind out the points needed for Elite Void. Novice boat, intermediate boat, veteran boat, nothing has changed. I'm still getting my shit rocked in here. But there's plenty of people in here, we should be able to get the completion, no problem. Last portal. And there it is. 7 points. Very nice. That's the veteran boat in combination with the medium combat achievements. I didn't have any mahogany planks on me, so we're going to have to turn these 3 logs into planks. And then we're going to have to head over to the Falador Castle to buy a painting for our POH. Just have to talk to this old man real quick and ask him for the painting. I believe it's the landscape one. And yep. A whopping 2,000 coins it cost me. Anyways, we have the hammer and saw on us. Let's teleport to our house. This is kind of a funny sight. For an Iron Man at 1739 total and 70 construction. Typically, their house wouldn't look like this, but as a product of being a GIM and just using my other account's house all the time, this is what my house looks like. Anyways, we just need to put down a quest haul real quick, if I can find it. Here it is. It cost me 25,000 GP. There it is, and where is the painting slot? There it is. I was beginning to think for a second there that I made the wrong room and just wasted some GP. Alright, that is the task completed. Now the last step here is the 300 Chompy Bird KCs. We last left off on 126 from doing the mediums. Got out of my own terrible house and back into the luxurious POH that has everything in it. Before we get started on the Chompy Bird hunting, let me just update you guys real quick on the birdhouses. I realized this was something I did very frequently early on, and I haven't really checked in with it in a while. And that's because nothing has really changed. We're currently 7,700, still far away from upgrading to redwoods, and I've really slowed down on upkeeping the birdhouses. I still try to do them where I can, but by no means am I doing them on cooldown currently. We're back just south of Castle Wars at the Swamp Bubble spot here. We're going to fill up these bellows and get started on the Chompy Birds. Actually had to hop a few worlds this morning, seems like a lot of people are here. The Chompy Bird grind is definitely brutal and slow at first, but as you can see, there's tons of Chompy Birds out right now, and I just got started. It definitely gets better and better as you do the diaries. And if you're doing this grind yourself, don't sleep on making brutal arrows. These actually make such a big difference. Because I had to hop worlds before I started this grind, I'm able to tell how long I've been doing this and how many KC I've done. So we're just under 7 minutes roughly. And like I said, we started at 126 KC today, and we're already up to 150. So this shouldn't take too long. I was going to check in just as we hit 200 Chompy Bird KC, but a whole wave of them just spawned in. So now we're under 100 KC to go until we're out of here. If I have been tracking correctly, this should be the final KC. And there we go, 300. Let's get out of here. Let's get back to rants. If we ever go for a Western Elite, we're going to need another whopping 700 KC. Even with the increased rates, that's going to take quite a bit longer. Anyways, let's talk to Rants here. We're going to get a couple more Chompy hats. Show him the bow. We're actually going to have to make room for this too, actually. Oh, you know what? I've been dropping these hats, and I think I need to collect all of them. Otherwise, he just keeps giving me the first couple of ones. Alright, I dropped some bellows, made some room, and now we have like 5-6 new Chompy Bird hat collection logs. And it's still going. But that is Western Provinces hard complete. Let's claim our Western Banner 3 and the EXP lamp from the Elder Gnome Child. Truth be told, I've never actually made use of the banner. I'm not even sure where exactly it TPs you to. Let's find out. What? Why would I ever want to TP here? Anyways, let's use the lamp on Slayer as we have been doing. Oh, this is a 15,000 EXP. Slayer EXP lamp. Very nice. We're almost 60 Slayer, actually. Anyways, with the Western Hard Diaries out the way, let's head back to Pest Control and get ourselves Elite Void. I actually don't have the Mage or Melee Helm yet, but to be honest, they're not very useful, and I'm only going to do the minimal amount of Pest Control right now, as I'm just not really all that up for it. I'll probably knock out more combat achievements and get a higher tier so that we get more points per game, and then that's when we'll return for the Mage and Melee Helmet. I was making my way over to Pest Control, but I minigame teleported to the wrong location. Instead of Pest Control, I TP'd to Nightmare Zone. I guess it's just because I've been here a lot recently. You know, without the minigame teleport, I actually don't remember how you get to Pest Control. I know it's by ship, but I don't know if it's charter ship or what. So I'm gonna have to look that up actually. Okay, we are here at Port Sarim. We gotta look for a squire. I think he's somewhere towards the south of the port. There he is. So at the outpost or pest control, there's a very specific NPC that you have to talk to for Elite Void Knight. Looks like he's just right next to the bank. And we're checking in with them just to check on how many points we actually need. It looks like we're going to need 200 points per item. So if I'm not mistaken, we're going to need 600 points, and that's because of the Void Knight gloves, the Void Knight robes, and the Void Knight robe top. I've hopped to the pest control world, and we're just about ready to get started. I'm going to go over the gear real quick. As you've seen, I'm in Blue Moon gear. I've got my Blue Moon Spear as well. This guy's just standing in front of me. Okay, out of all possible tiles you could stand on, you're going to stand right there. Okay. Anyways, we are on the Ancient Spellbook, and we're going to be casting Ice Burst. I think we're going to get a decent amount of Mage EXP here, as the mobs tend to clump up at the portals. And we desperately need Magic EXP, as we are only 83 Magic. Oh, and the amount of points we are starting with is 14. So we're going to need another 586. At 7 points per game, we're going to have to do 83.7 games. Now, obviously, we can't do 0.7 of a game, so really 84 games until we have enough points for Elite Void. The Mage EXP isn't the best here. There are just like small moments where there's a lot of mobs clumped up like this, where I do get a decent amount of EXP. But other than that, you know, some EXP is better than no EXP. I'm not really interested in training melee stats right now, as there's no rush for that. And our range levels, we're currently at 93, and I can easily get range EXP by using the Venator bow in Nightmare Zone like we have been doing. Another note is that now that we have access to the Veteran bow, these games are going by a lot quicker. People seem to know how to do the game mode more, and they're just better equipped. So knocking out these 84 games, or whatever I said it was, shouldn't take too long. After we get Elite Void, we will be moving on to something that's going to be more Magic EXP focused. And I'll get into that when we get there. But for right now, let's just lock in on getting these pest control points over with and getting Elite Void. I think we're roughly halfway there in terms of the points. Unfortunately, the Magic EXP has not been all that great. I thought it would be a little bit better. Also, absolutely nothing has changed as far as whenever I get targeted by any of the mobs, I just get absolutely decimated. I think after this game, I'm going to make the switch to probably range gear. Just because I still need range EXP anyways, and it's cheaper. I'm not really getting as much value as I would like with the Ice Bursting here. Alright, we're just rocking the Void set with our Quiver and a Magic Shortbow. I'm going to be using some Amethyst arrows, we have plenty of those. And let's get these 300 or so points remaining. Very important update, we are now at 420 pest control points, so 180 to go. You definitely see some very interesting characters at Pest Control. Like, look at this guy in Void with a Strength Cape, and I don't even know what Simi that is. It's not a Rune Simi or a Dragon. I think it might have been a Mithril or Addy. And then you have this guy in full Missouri and Pegasians, but he's using a Magic Shortbow. There you have a guy in Inquisitors with an Obby Cape and an Elder Maul. Now this guy looks a little bit more normal. He's in Crystal with his Bofa, but why is he wearing Prims? And this guy's just naked with his Artie Cloak 1 and a Dragon Simi. You just know this guy's an Iron Man without even looking him up. We have a guy here in full Virtus with a Nightmare Staff, and he has a Artie Cape on. I swear, you won't see these combinations of gear anywhere else. There's a guy rocking a Myth Cape right now up ahead. Wait, I thought that was a Myth Cape, but it's not. What is that? Legends Cape? No. What is that? On the boat, waiting to get into the final game that we're going to have to do. We're currently at 595 points. 7 points is going to put us at 602, and that is more than enough to get our Elite Void. That is the final pest control game completed, albeit it's not our last forever. Like I said before, we're going to have to come back for the melee and mage helm eventually. Or maybe we don't, I don't know. I mean, where are we going to use those, really? Anyways, let's talk to the Elite Void Knight over here. And yes, we would like to upgrade our Void set. 200 points per piece, and I guess I have to unequip it. Here we go. Boom, there goes the top. Can I just right click use it? Yes. Nice. There goes the row bottoms. Wait. The gloves can't be upgraded? Did I just get 200 extra points? Am I tripping? I am indeed tripping. You would think after playing this game for thousands of hours and having Elite Void set on, I don't know, at least one previous account, maybe two accounts, I would know, right? But this entire time I was thinking, yeah, you turned the Void Knight gloves into the Elite ones too. And it was only the helmets that you didn't have to turn into Elite. But turns out it's just the top and the row bottoms. Honestly, kind of embarrassing behavior. And I should probably cut this out of the video, but you know what? I'm going to put it in. Well, the silver lining is, at least we're 200 points closer to getting the Mage and Melee helmet one day. Anyways, now that we have the Elite Void range set, I can now use it to train my range in Nightmare Zone with the Venator bow. Now, I haven't actually ran any numbers to find out whether using the Eclipse set or Void is going to be better for the Venator bow in Nightmare Zone, but regardless, I'd be using the Elite Void anyways because I just want to save on those moon set charges. Anyways, now that we have this out the way, we're going to set our sights on getting our magic levels up. We will be working on that next. We've been working our way towards the Infernal Cape after the completion of the Colosseum. So we've been working on range levels, magic levels, and getting our hit points levels up as well. Recently, we acquired Elite Void, specifically the range set, and as such, it's just a matter of time to get a higher range level. Now we turn our attention to magic because we're still only 83 magic. And I don't know if you can tell, but if we zoom out here, we are at the Mage Training Arena. This is a pretty infamous place to the OSRS community. It's notorious for being bland and just very slow. However, at some point, in fact, let me fact check this. Back in May 2024, they did a massive update to this area to kind of refresh it and make it better for the times. I know we're well into 2025 now and even on our way to 2026. Crazy how time flies. But I've never been back to the Mage Training Arena since the update. So I'm going to have to learn just what the updates are, what they have changed, and how this is supposedly better now. We've got our trusty progress hat on, and we have the Magic Training Arena points UI here, starting at 0 points, 0 points, 0 points, and 0 points respectively. So you know I've never been here. So we are here for Magic EXP, but we are also here to pick up a few key unlocks. Those unlocks being the Mage's Book, which I believe is going to be our best in slot mage offhand as a 50 defense account. We won't have access to the Eladinus ward and the Fortified ward. We're going to want Infinity Boots, which are also going to be our best in slot magic boots, as we won't be able to upgrade them to Eternal Boots. We're going to want a Master Wand for our future Kodai Wand. I do have one on wait for it. I don't know if there's a definitive end to this series. However, one of my big goals is for this account to have its own items. Oh, and unlocking Bones to Peaches would be pretty good too. Although I think technically I could just make tabs on wait for it and have this account use them. We're going to start out at the Telegrab room, and a quick rundown of what they changed. Apparently you just get more Magic EXP now. So each maze you complete now gives you Magic XP on top of the previous Magic XP that you would get already. I think the dialogue with the NPC is just a little bit better, and a big thing, you apparently get run energy back now after completing 5 mazes. I'm going to utilize the filters on the spellbook here because I mostly just need to telekinetic grab, and it would suck if I misclicked and teleported out of here. So let me just hide combat spells, we won't be using that. Hide teleport spells, and then we'll just enable icon resizing. There we go. We haven't done 5 mazes yet, but I was just thinking, in combination with the run energy replenish and the run energy changes that they did a while ago, this should not have any issues whatsoever. This should just be smooth sailing. In terms of the points we need from this room, we're going to need a total of 1,300 points. I think most of it is the Mage's Book, And the next most expensive thing is actually the Master Wand, and that's because you have to get each tier of wand and upgrade it respectively. You can't just skip ahead and get the Master Wand off rip. According to the wiki, if you're really paying attention here and not making mistakes and you're just focused, it's going to be about 288 points per hour. So with the 1300 we need, it's going to take us about 4.5 hours. But, you know, I'm not really going to be locked in the Mage Training Arena. I mean, come on, it's still Mage Training Arena. So it's probably going to take us longer than that. Another change they made at some point that I'm not sure if it's a direct change because of Mage Training Arena, but they did remove this weird stall you used to have when you telegrab things. So now it feels very fluid and not at all clunky. We just got started on the grind, so the copium levels are naturally a lot higher than they would be. And I've been thinking, hey, I wonder if I should go for the Infinity outfit. Obviously, in terms of bonuses, it's not quite as good as the Blue Moon set. However, magic damage percentage-wise, it is the same. The set gives you 3%. And I've been thinking, you know, the downside of being a 50 defense account and using the Blue Moon gear, or the Moon's gear in general, is that they cost charges, which cost GP. So it's going to be a constant upkeep type thing. But yeah, I'm just yapping right now, and it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to go for this set. We'll have to see though. It just occurred to me that maybe I should bring a air battle staff, because I've been chewing up air runes. I mean, obviously there's nothing I can do about the law runes, but I can definitely save on air runes. So I was heading out of the area to grab the air battle staff. And I was wondering, I wonder if they added a bank here. And turns out they did. Now this is a pretty big change. I think if I restricted myself to even lower than 50 defense, there is a world where the Infinity Robes is my best in slot magic armor. Especially if I don't want to deal with the wilderness, I know there is Dagon High. We got ourselves our first 100 points. We just have to do this 13 more times in this room. This Mage Training Arena arc is definitely a piece of content where I'm going to be breaking up the grind by keeping up with my birdhouses. If I'm not mistaken, on this birdhouse run, we should be picking up a new level. Yep, on the 4th birdhouse, we're going to pick up a new level, 78 Hunter. Remember when I made it a point to set up the spellbook filters so I don't accidentally TP out? Well, I just came back from a birdhouse run, so I had to have the teleports out. And I came back, and I misclicked on teleport to house. But luckily, I've learned that the game prevents you from TPing out of the arena, so they did think of something like this, and they prevent you from doing that, which is pretty nice. But I'm going to go ahead and reset up the filters anyways, just because it's nice to be able to easily click my spell. We've been chipping away, and I'm just over 500 points now. We got another 800 to go from this room. And then, there's 3 more rooms. Okay, we have some semblance of progress here. 84 magic. We're just over 650 points now, so halfway to the 1300 that we need, at least for this room. Well, this was a bit unexpected. We hit 60 Slayer off of doing a random event. You know, at some point, I'm going to have to get the POH set up on this account as well. Sometimes I don't feel like multi-logging, so I have to log in on the other account just to access the POH. I logged out too early while I was still in the POH, and it kicked me out. Coming up is 1,000 points in the telegrab room. Although we get a bit of a bonus because that was 5 puzzles in a row. We're at 1,008 now. If we're doing this efficiently, I guess we're only here in this room for about 1 more hour. This should be the final puzzle here. And we're at 1,300 total points to be exact. We can now move on to any of the other 3 rooms. I don't think it matters which order you do them in. Well, I'm actually going to do this tomorrow because I spent my entire day today doing just the 1 room. The magic EXP from the telegrab room honestly wasn't too great, but I think the other rooms will be better. It's a new day currently. I just got done with the farm runs, birdhouses, and all that typical Iron Man stuff. I'm running over to the rune shop real quick to pick up some earth runes. As well, actually just earth runes. This is because the next MTA room we're going to work on is the graveyard, which is going to require us to cast Bones to Bananas. If we had Bones to Peaches unlocked, we would do that, but obviously we just got started at MTA, so we do not have that. Bones to Bananas is going to cost us 1 nature rune, 2 water runes, and 2 earth runes per cast. Now, obviously, there's nothing we can do about the nature runes. We don't have the staff from Bryo, but we do have our Twin Flame staff for the water runes, and we'll just have to buy ourselves some earth runes. For this room, we're going to need the same amount of points, but I do think this is going to go by quicker. Now, I do think there are varying strategies to how to do this room, but I think the simplest method for us is to just pick up 13 bones, cast Bones to Peaches, deposit them, and rinse and repeat. This is the easiest method to do without thinking too hard and without paying too much attention. This is because 13 bones will always convert to a full inventory no matter what. I mentioned that the points per hour is going to be better, but I also think the EXP per hour is going to be better. So this room should go by faster, and it should just feel better in general than the first room we did. Although the downside is, it is a little bit more intensive in the sense that I have to be spam clicking this bone pile. Another thing is we do take a bit of chip damage through our time in this room, but that's okay. We don't need to bring any food because we are making our own food. We're going to be using the bananas we make occasionally just to heal up. I originally thought to do the Enchanter's room next after the Telegrab room. However, I decided to roll with this because I just want to get this one out the way. I don't like any activity where I have to be more or less spam clicking, to be honest. So in this room, there are actually 4 different types of bones with different conversion rates. However, because the piles are so far apart, and some of them are even further away from this food chute here, and the piles constantly change as to which bones you pick up, it's actually not worth it to run around and pick up the highest conversion rate one. Instead, you just pick on the pile that's closest to the chute, and you rinse and repeat. So without looking it up, I don't really know what changes they have made to this room to improve it. I think perhaps maybe you take reduced damage now, and the bonus runes that you get, I think, I don't think they're showing up in my rune pouch, so maybe we get them upon leaving the room instead. Anyways, it's only been a couple of minutes, but we are already at over 100 points. So, we just have to do this 13 more times, and we can be finished with this room. Obviously, we're starting out strong here, but I'm not sure how much longer I can go without needing to take a break from this. Okay, we are down to 8 HP, so let's go ahead and... Oh, I have left-click drop on the bananas. You know what? They only heal for 2 as well, so with that being said, I think it might be a better option if we simply just leave the room, go upstairs, because now there's a bank here. Oh yeah, and there we go, we got the runes, the bonus runes. 26 blood runes and 25 dead runes. But yeah, let's head upstairs and we'll just, I don't know, chew on some Karambwans or something. Yeah, that did not take long ago. We are already back in the room and continuing where we left off, so that is 100% the move. While we're working on the graveyard room at MTA, over on, wait for it, we're back at the Zeah RC mines to get more blood runes. I probably won't be actively doing this the entire grind at MTA, but we'll get blood runes where we can. Just a little under halfway to the needed points for this room, and I've made a couple adjustments. For one thing, I decided to turn on the inventory viewer plugin so that I can just look at the inventory without having to actually swap to the tab. I can look over to the left and see how many bones I have, and then I can just camp the spellbook to cast Bones to Bananas. For the most part, I'm still going for picking up 13 bones and then converting and turning them in, but if I'm paying a little bit more attention, there actually is a number that does the math for me at the top left corner there. And sometimes, if I'm picking up the right bones, I don't need to pick up 13 bones. I decided to take a break from the Mage Training Arena, so I parked myself at the Nightmare Zone in our new shiny Elite Void. Of course, we're using the Venator bow, so we're going to be gaining range EXP pretty quickly here. We're currently 125k EXP away from 94, and we'll probably be picking that up relatively shortly, maybe about an hour. Again, I just want to reiterate, currently everything we are working on is to get ourselves to the Infernal and get the Infernal Cape. So currently we're working on our range levels, and we've been at Mage Training Arena to get our magic levels up so that we can start ice barraging. And of course, any hit point levels we get will help greatly as well. The little break at Nightmare Zone is over, we're back at MTA. But we did hit 94 range, so one step closer to 99. We have reached 1,000 points at the graveyard, just 300 more to go. Should be, I don't know, less than an hour, I think, if I'm paying attention. Just having a bit of a discussion with the clan here, and I've been saying, You know, I'm definitely kind of influenced with the content creation and making these videos because I feel like I would not have came to Magic Training Arena this early. The first time around on Wait For It, I didn't go to MTA until I pulled a Kodai insignia to make the wand. I think overall this is a good thing though. It pushes me out of my comfort zone a little bit. Maybe it makes me play a little bit more efficiently, as doing MTA early before you hit 99 Magic is good, and the unlocks here are actually pretty important. And especially for this account, the Mage's Book is going to be my best in slot. With this Bones to Peaches or Bones to Bananas and turning in this inventory, we reach 85 magic. That gives us Water Surge, Teleport Block if we want to, go PKing, and we can use the Tumican Shadow, which, by the way, we actually have a dupe shadow on the group account. Well, shortly after hitting 85 magic, we also reached our required 1,300 points from the graveyard. We can now move on to either the Enchanter's Room or the Alchemist Room. I think we're going to do the Enchanter's next, but we're going to save that for another day. So far, we've been doing 1 day, 1 room, and we'll see if that remains true for the remaining 2 rooms, but I'm definitely beat for the day, so. Alrighty, it is a new day. We're on day number 3 of MTA, and now we're going to start on the Enchanter's Room. For this room, we're going to need 14,000 points, but not to worry. The points scale a little bit differently in this room, so it's just a bigger number for no reason. I think in terms of real time, it's going to take us less time than the other 2 rooms will take. As the name of the room implies, you do a lot of enchanting in this room. And the higher level enchanting spell you cast, the more points you get per cast. So I believe the level 1 enchant grants you 1 point, whereas the level 5 enchant grants you 5 points. Our highest available spell is the level 5 enchant for Dragonstones. Now I believe there are 2 general strategies to this room. For one thing, you can pay attention to the bonus. So right now it's this red pyramid looking thing, and depositing those will net you extra points. But look, it's switched already to these green cylinders. So you can actively pay attention to that, enchant them, and deposit to the center here. Or you can just pick up any of the shapes and then turn them in, ignoring the bonus. So kind of a higher intensity one that will net you more points per hour, or a lower intensity one where you don't have to pay as much attention. So again, we're going to need 14,000 points, but as you can see, we're already gaining a ton of them. We're up to 70 points already, 75 and counting. So this should not take that long at all. If you really want to put in the least amount of effort possible while still doing this room, you can just click on one pile, cast the enchanting once, and just let it auto cast itself. Which, as you know, letting it auto cast your inventory versus manually clicking one by one is a pretty big difference. But whatever gets the job done for you personally. Besides going for the shapes, I'm sure as you noticed when I first entered the room, there are these Dragonstones on the floor. They will occasionally respawn around the center room, and you'll also occasionally get these from the shape piles. These will provide, I believe, double the amount of points, so whenever there's Dragonstones, make sure to get those. I always appreciate when there is a higher intensity and a lower intensity method. That way you can choose and maybe even do a combination of both depending on what you're up for in that moment. Back in the first room, the telekinetic room, there was no option really. You just had to do the room as is. There was no way to speed it up. There was no way to slow it down. You just had to do what you had to do. In this room, right now, I'm actively clicking, but a couple of minutes later, I can just as easily stand there and AFK. This room is also better than the second room we did, which was the graveyard room. We don't take damage here, and we don't have to spam click as hard. Sure, we do to pick up the shapes. However, we can just let autocast happen. I've been doing a lot of blood rune crafting on Wait For It, but as of today, we are currently restocking our amethyst arrows. We've been training range in Nightmare Zone on 416 Hero, but the Venator bow, and because we don't have the Vorkath backpack yet, we're actually losing out on a lot of arrows. I mean, they show up on the ground, but I'm not really bothered to pick them up. I believe the big QOL update they did to this room was having each shape and color available in every corner of this room. I believe in the past that wasn't the case, and you'd have to be running around this entire area a lot more often, and then run energy would become an issue as well. Speaking of run energy, I'd just like to point out that this is yet another case where the run energy changes they made who knows how long ago at this point, but it is a significant change, and looks like it just benefits you just about anywhere. I got really confused for a second, but turns out I've ran out of Earth Runes, and now I can't do level 5 enchant. So let's go pick up some more Earth Runes. And by pick up, I mean just hop on over to wait for it, and I don't know. I have 146k Earth Runes on this account, so let's just take out, I don't know, like 20k. Sure, why not? Okay, back into the room we go. Ideally, I would be using a mud staff, but unfortunately, we have just never gotten one before. Normally, I do a little update midway through, but we're up to 10,000 points, almost 10,200 actually already. We just need another 3,800 to go. But right now, I'm just going to go do a birdhouse run real quick. All right, we didn't even have to finish up this inventory. Once we turn this in, we can get out of this room because we have over 14,000 enchantment points. And with that being said, there's only one room that remains, and that is the alchemy room. However, keeping with the theme of the last few days of doing one room per day, we're going to save the last room for tomorrow. Now, I'm just going to head over to Nightmare Zone and train up my range levels. We're definitely going to hit 95 today, and we'll inch closer and closer to 96 and 99 overall. Good morning, gamers. Just logged on for the day doing our farm run. And today's going to be a big day because we're getting 90 for farming on the next palm tree seed that we're going to harvest. We're going to get some magic levels, 86 for sure, and then some. And last night I hit 96 range, which I decided is more than enough for us to hit the Inferno. And today, most of all, we're going to finish Mage Training Arena and collect all our items. All the points we've been saving up the last couple of days, we're going to spend them today. Making my way over to the Brimhaven fruit tree patch. And there we go, 94 farming. Alright, we have made it to the Mage Training Arena, entering the final room for us, the Alchemy Room. The Alchemy Room is fairly straightforward. There are 6 cupboards in here, and you take items out of the cupboards to low or high alch respectively. So right now we're taking out these Addy kite shields, and we're alching them. There is a yellow arrow pointing to this right now because the game is telling me, or actually this might be a RuneLite plugin, I'm not sure if it's built into the game, but basically it's telling me that currently the Adamant Kite Shield has the highest alchemy value. And occasionally things will rotate and change, and right now the Emerald is now the best value item. But if you look over here near the top right, there is a green arrow pointing to the Adamant Helm. And what this green arrow indicates is that you will get free alchs on this item right now. So it's kind of up to you whether you want to go for the free alchs or the best value one while still burning up your runes. So with that being said, once again, there is 2 varying strategies with this room, and it just depends what you want to go for. The best points per hour, or maybe the lowest cost per hour. Now that I very briefly explained the mechanics of the room, now it's time to talk about how many points we need. We're going to need 1,500 points in this room to get all the items that we want. And according to the wiki rates, it's anywhere between 320 something to 340 something pizzazz points per hour. So we're probably going to be here for about 5 hours, give or take. Now 5 hours is a long time, but once we get that out the way, we're probably not going to have to ever come back. Unless we want the full infinity robes for some reason. I guess we're not directly getting points right now, but the coins in our inventory is the currency system for that. Basically, every 100 coins in our inventory is converted to 1 pizzazz points. Another thing to note is that you can actually right-click the cupboards and take 5 of the items. Just picked up a magic level, we're now 86, but still a long ways to go. In terms of the coins we have in our inventory, we're a little over 200 pizzazz points right now, and I'm already kind of regretting leaving this room for last. I don't know what I was thinking. I probably would have wanted the enchanting room last, to be honest. If you want to progress in this room at all, there's absolutely no downtime. There's no auto casting for high alchemy or even low alch, so you're constantly clicking, and then you're constantly having to pay attention to when the items rotate and when the points rotate. Mistakes have been made for sure, This should have been maybe one of the first rooms I did instead. If we turn in our coins now, we will have about 760 points, give or take. So a little over halfway being done with this room. And then of course, as you know, once we're done with this room, we're done overall. This room, and I guess actually Mage Training Arena in general, is not the most engaging content. So on the side, I've just been watching some YouTube videos. And luckily, it's not too bad to be watching videos while doing this. One of the quality of life changes they made to this room is that now the room only rotates the items every minute or so. I don't know what it was before, but it was definitely a lot more frequent than that. We've got just under 1,600 nature runes remaining. It looks like we will have to restock on those to close this out. According to the wiki, we use about 900 nature runes, give or take, per hour. I took a bit of a break, so I went ahead and turned in my coins. We're now at 857 pizzazz points, and we're starting up another coin stack. Also, while I was gone, I also gained another magic level. We are now 87 magic. Okay, if I can do math correctly, depositing these coins should get me enough. Yes, it does. We're actually a little bit over. We hit 88 magic as well. And now we can go claim all our loot. We're going to head on upstairs, and surely I didn't do any math wrong, right? You know, I plugged it all into the calculator. And let's talk to the rewards guardian. Let's be careful here. The first thing we're going to do is get the beginner's wand, into the apprentice wand, into the teacher wand, and then finally into the master wand. That is 4 collection logs right there. All right, we got that out the way. We want the infinity boots. We want the mage's book. And bones to peaches. That should be it. We are finally done. Fresh out of the Mage Training Arena, we are currently at Ammonite Crab's Water Surging. Now, this is really wacky because, you know, who in their right mind would be water surging Ammonite Crabs, especially as an Iron Man? But this is just one of those weird, wacky moments that are created because I am a group Iron Man with a maxed account in the GIM. Runecrafting Wrath Runes as a maxed account is no big deal at all. I believe it is just under 10,000 Wrath Runes an hour. And as you know, with Magic, you can only ever cast about 1,200 casts per hour. And Surge spells only cost 1 Wrath Rune per cast. Anyways, now that we're out of the Mage Training Arena, we are doing everything we can at any time that we're logged in to get our Magic levels up. We're currently at 88 Magic, and our goal is to get Ice Barrage at 94. But we're also going to get, I don't know, maybe 95 or 96 just to create that buffer. Because in the Inferno, if you get hit by the bats, they will drain your stats. Now don't worry, we're not going to be water surging Ammonite Crabs all the way to 94 or 96 or whatever. Currently I'm being a bit lazy, so I'm just parked here at the moment. However, we're probably going to look to do some ice bursting in the Monkey Madness 1 caves. And I know, Monkey Madness 2 caves is where you're supposed to be at. But I'm sure you noticed I'm 60 Slayer. And I'm not about to do 9 Slayer levels just for this. I'm also going to be utilizing Nightmare Zone and Water Surging in there as well. Some of the Nightmare Zone mobs do have a water elemental weakness. I think I mentioned this during the middle of the MTA grind, but we're 96 range and this is going to be the stopping point, and I'm ready to send the Inferno at this level. This is because I'm comparing my DPS to a typical Iron Man Crystal Bofa run with Rigor, which is actually the exact setup I used on Wait For It. And funny enough, at 96 range with Deadeye, if I'm wearing my Eclipse armor with the T-Bow, it already out DPS's the Bofa on Zuk. So that being said, I feel pretty confident about being 96 range. I've also had thoughts about just sending the Inferno with 88 magic as is, and just utilizing Ice Burst. However, I guess I'm going to hold off against that as things are already stacked against me. I'm not sure how 50 defense and 63 prayer are going to go. So it's pretty difficult to guess how hard this Infernal Cape is going to be. I do have the experience on my side of having done 4 previous KC, and of course I do get to use the Twisted Bow. But with 50 defense, will I be able to tank blobs? Will I be able to get away with tanking a couple of melee hits here and there? And one of the big questions for me is, will I have to flick the set at Zuk? And in terms of prayer, Every Inferno run I've ever done, I've always been good on supplies. But again, that's with 99 or close to 99 prayer. But I guess that could be negated if I use those new prayer regeneration pots. Anyways, this is a bit of a tangent, a bit of a ramble as to what I'm thinking in terms of preparing for the Inferno. Let's get to the magic training. Probably the next couple of clips are going to be me ice bursting if I can be bothered. And then just before we get into the Inferno, I'll showcase our setup and how we're going to be tackling it. Okay, we are able to pay a little bit more attention now, so I've made my way over to the Monkey Madness 1 tunnels. We just got here, so the skeletons are still building up. But we should be getting better EXP rates here as we are ice bursting huge clumps of skeletons. And we're using Mystic Vigor as well. A little bit of a quality of life thing here is I actually went into the settings and I changed NPC attack options to always right click. This is so I can pick up the bones and spread them out easier and not accidentally click on the skeletons all the time. Of course, we're wearing our Blue Moon set, but let's show off the newly acquired gear like the Infinity Boots and the Mage's Book. We've got our Seer's Ring that's imbued from our time training in Nightmare Zone. We're currently using the Occult Necklace, the Kodai Wand, and Tormented Bracelet borrowed from Wait For It. So we got a huge stack of bones on one tile and we need to spread them out. So here we go. I'm able to just left click through the skeletons to pick up the bones and spread them out. And then once we get set up with the bones, we just get back to our spot here and right click attack. Or even just let it auto retaliate. So without question, bursting is definitely better EXP rates per hour, but at the cost of all the burst runes and prayer pots. That's okay though, we're not exactly in short supply of prayer pots, we have plenty of those, and at this point I'm just looking to get to the Inferno as fast as I can. So we're still bursting at the Monkey Madness 1 tunnels right now, and obviously bursting takes up a lot of death runes and chaos runes. Chaos runes we're going to be buying from the rune shops. However, with the death runes, I'm going to be manually rune crafting them myself through the Abyss. Cleared up about half the inventory of prayer pots, so over on Wait For It, I'm currently making the trip over to drop off some prayer pots. Let's make sure we have our monkey Grigri so we don't get absolutely destroyed. Okay, we've made it here at the same location on Wait For It. Obviously, we're in combat, so we're not going to be able to trade, so I'm just going to walk under and drop these prayer pots over. They should show up in about a minute. 89 magic. Well, the pop-up was short-lived. We got interrupted. So this is a little bit of an awkward revelation, but I have recently switched over to casting Shadow Barrage, which we could have done quite some time ago, and even before that we could have been casting Smoke Barrage. I think I overlooked the other spells because in the context of the Inferno, the only two spells you really need are the blood spells and ice spells, and I've solely been training magic for that reason, for the Inferno. So I've been thinking about Ice Burst and upgrading the Ice Barrage, but in terms of training my actual magic levels up, I could be using the best possible spell available, which right now is Shadow Barrage. So I dropped off some soul runes and air runes with Wait For It, and now we're training with Shadow Barrage. Our EXP per hour should go up, and we should be getting bigger EXP drops in general. It's a new day, and I just finished up my farm run and bird houses as per usual, but next sure thing to do today, Tears of Guthix. We're still 47 rune crafting, so we can safely do this without accidentally leveling up something we don't want to. Okay, we actually got a new PB in terms of Tears of Guthix. I'm going to jump from 47 to 48 rune crafting. Just made it back to the spot in the tunnels. It's going to take a little bit of setup time, but once we get going, we're going to get a lot of EXP. It won't take too long into the day before we hit 90 magic and 95 hit points. Oops, missed the 95 hit point pop-up, but that also takes us to 102 combat. I believe we maxed out at 103. This is under the assumption that we keep 50 defense and 63 prayer. And actually something that I have not mentioned before is that I've trained my attack levels to 82, and that unlocks the Fang and pretty much allows me to use anything in the game. But staying at 82 will keep my combat levels as low as possible, that being 103. I hadn't really discussed the attack level restriction in great detail, and that's because it was kind of a spur of the moment thing a little while ago when I was training strength levels, and I was like, I've been stuck at 80 for quite some time. What should I do with that, right? and I just decided to get an extra 2 levels and leave it at that. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think our inability to gain attack EXP will affect anything really. We're already restricted because of our choice to stay at 50 defense, and most weapons we're going to avoid using, such as the Hasta or the Dragon Hunter Lance, will be on shared EXP anyways, and we're avoiding using those because of defense EXP to begin with. And there's 90 magic. So now that we're using barraging spells, it is about 5k or just under 5k death runes an hour, and while we do have a decent stack sitting in our bank, 5k an hour, I mean, your stack's going to deplete pretty quickly. So what I'm doing on Wait For It right now is casting or rune crafting some death runes through the Abyss. Oops, just missed it, but we hit level 91 magic. 3 more levels until we can cast Ice Barrage, which actually we are already casting Ice Barrage because I have brought myself some Forgotten Brews to boost my magic levels up. And yeah, I'm able to Ice Barrage to train faster. After many hours in the Monkey Madness 1 tunnels, I've decided to have a change of scenery. We're here in the Czar Fight Caves area next to the Inferno entrance, actually. And we're going to test out barraging here and see what the EXP rates are like. According to the wiki, the EXP rates should be comparable, but we'll have to see. One of the plus things about barraging here instead of the Monkey Madness 1 tunnels is that we do get Tokkul, and there are some collection log slots to get. After testing out that new location for a couple of minutes, I decided that I'm going to head back to Monkey Madness 1 tunnels. The only way I can describe that experience is that it's like doing a Necreals task, but more annoying because there's not like a chamber that you're in, there's not a room that you're in, they're super spread out, and even though I went to a spot that was mostly melee, there were a couple of rangers and majors that would occasionally tag me. No way, we just got our 3rd champion scroll. Yep, that's right, you heard it right. 3rd champion scroll. Back when we were going for the MA2 cape and the zombie axe, I was training magic up at that point too. And I came to the Monkey Madness 1 caves and got not 1, but 2 skeleton champion scrolls. And here is our 3rd. Okay, disregard the weird resolution from that last clip. I guess I was so excited I accidentally dragged and resized the RuneLite client, causing a weird resolution. But yeah, 3rd skeleton champion scroll. Just hit 92 magic. Obligatory halfway there to 99. So while I've been training, I've been discussing with the clan when I should go ahead and just send the Inferno, at what magic level that is. And at first I was planning on getting maybe 95 or 96 as a buffer for when the bats inevitably drain my stats. However, I think I'm just going to go ahead and send it at 94. Since we hit 92 magic, we need about another 1.3 mil EXP to not only get to 93, but 94. Assuming we're gaining about 200k EXP an hour, that's going to be somewhere between 6 to 7 hours. I don't think I'm going to hit 94 today in real time. I might get close though, but we'll definitely get it tomorrow, and then we will be sending the Inferno. While we are still working on getting 94 magic for Ice Barrage, we are on Wait For It at the Mixology Lab to work on getting some points so that we can purchase the secondary that is used to make prayer regeneration potions. Okay, opening up the shop here, we should have enough points. We have 48 of these herbs, which I don't know how to pronounce, and we're going to need 48 of these secondaries, which is right here. I can only assume we have enough. Plugging into a calculator, and we do. 48. We're going to go ahead and make those potions now. In order to squeeze out as much value as we can out of this, we have our Alchemist Amulet, which the Gommel's Lucky Penny, if you have the Master Combat Achievement tier, actually works on saving charges for that. And then we also have the Prescription Goggles, and just for convenience, we also have the pouch, which we put these secondaries in there. And now let's go ahead and make the, I skipped a very important step. First, we got to make the unfinished potions. Okay, the unfinished potions have been made. Now we can go ahead and make these potions. So if we didn't have the amulet or the prescription goggles, we should come out with 48 3-dose prayer regeneration potions. Let's see what we actually end up with though. Converted to 4-dose prayer regeneration potions, we should end up with 36, but we ended up with 38. So we got 2 bonus prayer regeneration potions. On top of that, we saved on 4 of the secondaries. Magic levels have been our primary focus, but any hit point levels that we get are a nice bonus as well. We just hit 96. And there is 93 magic, just one more level to go. 748k EXP remaining. A couple more Ice Barrage casts here, and we'll hit 94 magic. Ice Barrage is officially unlocked. Let's get out of the tunnels, which we've spent, I don't know, like our last 3 days at. Alright, it is that time. Well, first I'm going to grab some lunch, and then we're going to get geared up. And it is time to tackle the Inferno as a 50 defense, 63 prayer account. We are back and we're just outside the Infernal entrance at the bank. We've geared up. For our mage gear, we got the Kodai, the Mage's Book, Blue Moon top and bottoms, and of course the Occult. For our range gear, we got the Blowpipe with Dragon Darts in it. We got the Necklace of Anguish, the Eclipse, top and bottom. We have the Eclipse helmet equipped as well. We got the Twisted Bow, and I'm actually going to swap out the Amethyst arrows for Dragon arrows. Good thing I spotted that. And of course we got the Quiver. We got the Zarite Van Braces. And yeah. In terms of our inventory, we're going to use Bastion Potions. Bastion Potions are basically range pots, if you didn't know. However, they also give you defense. We got 2 Divines and 2 Regulars. The Regulars we're probably going to be using at Zuck. And the Divines we're going to use to get through the waves. We got 3 prayer regeneration potions, which I've never used before, so I'm pretty excited to use those. We're bringing in 6 brews, and how many restores is this? 7, 8, 9 restores. And of course we have our rune pouch for our spells. I'm pretty excited for this, but I don't really know what to expect. We'll just have to go in and see what happens. Okay, fantastic realization. At least I caught it like right afterwards, but as I was turning in the fire cape, my mic was muted. But I was saying that was our only fire cape, so we're either gonna get the cape right now on this first attempt, or we're staying until we do, no matter how many attempts it takes, because we don't have another fire cape. I mean, I could go get another one, but who wants to be doing that? So here we go, jumping into the Inferno. This little animation, enter the Inferno, is always pretty cool. Neat little animation. We drop a super restore on the ground to make room to equip our Blowpipe and Twisted Bow. Early waves, we're just trying to get settled in there, nothing too special. We got our first melee, just safe spot it with the pillar. And then the first Ranger. The Ranger, you do have to pray range, and it is a little bit punishing to miss your prayer. But not too bad, it's not like it's a one-shot or anything, so still pretty comfortable here. And then on this next wave, we get a combination. Well, actually, it's wave 31. Usually, probably one of the first, like, remotely difficult waves. You got a melee, 2 blobs, and a ranger. The nibblers are kind of giving me trouble there, but I'm able to clear them. Actually, yeah, we do. There was one kind of lingering by the pillar there, but... Anyways, we run over to the east side, get rid of the blobs, because the melee is going to dig any second now. So we're just trying to clear out the blobs to buy us more time. And we're actually getting absolutely destroyed. Oh, there we go. Okay, first run, we died on wave 31. Now I have a bit of experience as to what it's like as a 50 defense account. Those melees will really chomp you out. But yeah, the takeaway there is I have to be a bit more decisive when it comes to the melees. On a 99 defense account, and particularly if it's not your first cape and you're on Slayer task, you can definitely just tank the melees and delete them with your Blowpipe. I don't think we have the DPS and definitely not the defense to be able to do that consistently here. So after breaking down what happened, we hop in for our second attempt, and this time around we make a deeper run into wave 47. We got a major, a blob, a melee, and 2 bats. So quite a bit more things here. And in an effort to make it to the east side to hide from the major, we book it over there, but we misclick, and unfortunately we eat a big mage hit. And from that point on, I think I was just trying to kill stuff as fast as possible, but being 50 defense, we were just eating the bat hits, we were eating the blob hits, and that was second attempt. Now we head back in third attempt here. We got a random event we just dismissed. Ain't nobody got time for that right now. But yeah, wave 1, we just get situated, safe spot the bat with the pillar, get rid of the nibblers. Which took me like 3 barrages, a bit annoying, but at least that happened early and not on like wave 62. And this time around, new PB, we're at wave 50 where we get the major and the ranger, and we get a nice humble spawn, so it's not even an issue. The nibblers were giving me trouble again, but because the ranger was safe spotted behind the pillar, all we had to do was pray mage and get rid of the nibblers, then the major, and then the ranger. So wave 50, nice and simple. But this is where things start getting real, because you're most likely going to have to tank a range hit like I just did there. I do try to freeze the melee there, but unfortunately we splash. Or did I cast a blood barrage there instead of an ice barrage? I don't know. But we're forced to off-tick here. And flick between the range and melee. Get rid of that. Now we have all the time in the world. I guess I choose the blood barrage there just to safe up a little bit. We do go for the major first though, so that less respawns happen, although the melee did respawn. But nothing too special from that point. Just one mob at a time, using the pillar. And now we hit wave 62, highly regarded as one of the most difficult waves, that and wave 63. We have a nibbler chomping down the south pillar right now, but that's not a big deal. We prioritize getting rid of the major, so no more respawns happen. And once the melee digs, I feel pretty comfortable flicking the ranger and the blob so that I go save the south pillar. And then here, nothing too much goes on here. I just get rid of the blob that's attacking me on the south side. Let the melee dig, get rid of that. And we make it to wave 63. Again, I feel like this is a pretty humble spawn. Right now, all we have to do is flick the major and the blob. The only danger is the melee digging, which is what happens right there. We do kill the major in time. And thanks to that, we're able to just turn the corner and now flick the ranger and the blob. And once again, I do feel comfortable with the melee behind me to book it south and save the pillar. Perhaps a unnecessary risk in hindsight there though, but I felt pretty comfortable doing it. And I think at this point the CA to save all the pillars was in the back of my mind. I wanted to go for that. But once again, the hard part is over and we're just killing one mob at a time, and we're blood barraging so that we start wave 64 with as much health as we can. And of course take the opportunity to head back to the north pillar, which is where we want to be at all times. Not really sure what I was doing here, maybe just recollecting myself. I think I opt to barrage the blob here just to squeeze out as much health back as I can, because the rangers max hit you for I think like 46, 47, and then if you get hit by a blob or anything else, that could, you know, be a dangerous position to be at. Or a melee, especially a melee. Those melees will hit you pretty big as well, especially being on a 50 defense account. Anyways, wave 64. I guess nothing too special happened there. We get through to 65. And then 66, whatever you do, this is free. Just don't flick, you know? Check your ego real quick. Just play it safe. Pray mage and get both the majors down at a similar time to prevent them from spawning, or respawning rather. Anyways, we make it to Jad. You know, this is just like Fight Caves Jad, but except you spent over an hour, for me an hour and a half to get to this point. So naturally nerves do kick in. The healers are out. We're actually getting clapped up by them. Look, now we're down to half health. We do get them onto the other side of Jad though, and we're trying to blood barrage back up before we finish it off and get to triples. So we get the single Jad out the way. That should be a freebie. And here comes triple Jads. Triple Jads is honestly not that difficult. I feel like when people get here for the first time, their heart race is just up, and They think the attacks are faster than they are, but it's plenty of time to react in between the two. So healers come out on the first one, we get done with the first Jad, the second Jad, and this is where tragedy occurs. A 73 to the dome and we're dead. And that was just a silly mistake. Well, you saw it right there. That was a really good run. We made it to triple Jads and it was absolutely free. I had everything under control. I got the first Jad down, the second Jad down, but as I rotated my camera and repositioned my camera or character from the second Jad to the last Jad, for some reason, I saw Jad move, about to attack, and I switched from prey range to prey mage, but it was a range attack. And for a split second there, not even a second, I realized I messed up, and I had a split second thought to tick eat it. But my natural reflexes just flipped back to the spellbook and turned on prey range, but by then it was too late. To go out like that is definitely a stinger. That one hurts. But to look at the positives, I now know I can take a 50 defense, 63 prayer account all the way to Zuck and get the cape. I mean, look at these supplies. So after that triple Jad showing, that was actually the end of day 1. Now we're on day 2. We're on wave 30. And it was a rough start. If I had just stood on this tile right here earlier, then the ranger would have been corner trapped and would not have seen me. But because I was slow on that, I was getting hit by both the melee and the ranger. I was trying to figure out if they were off-ticked or not. And I just eat too many hits, both from the blobs and the bats. And that was an unfortunate first run. But right after the wave 30, we send another one and we make it to wave 58. Pretty good spawn here. Got the ranger trapped behind the major, so it can't even see me. Got the melee coming, and I was once again trying to figure out if they were off-ticked, and I just get chomped out by the melee. I swear on a 99 defense account that wouldn't even be an issue. You just pray mage, and then you delete the melee. Next attempt, we're now on wave 29, and honestly, not too much to say here. This was just kind of a brain fart. For some reason, I thought turning the corner there would have safe spotted the melee, but obviously it did not. Next attempt, we make it to wave 54, and we get a major ranger west spawn. That is the first time that has happened. It caught me off guard. I tried to recover by booking it to the east side, but then the blob and the bat just finished me off there. Next attempt, we're now on wave 41, and I want to say I just get a little too fancy here. I'm trying to, you know, obviously get rid of the nibblers there, and I do feel pretty comfortable typically flicking the major and blobs, but I think I just messed up there. Next attempt, wave 47, and not much to say here. It was just a fat misclick. But next attempt, we make it to Zuck. This time around, we got our get back on the last Jad for triple Jads. But here we go. And we actually get the good shield rotation this time. So the shield went right side first, which means we're going to be on the right side when the first set spawns. And that's where the ranger's going to be. And that way we can just protect range and try to delete the ranger as fast as possible before having to tag the major and then having to deal with the major and the ranger. And I think the DPS here was pretty good too. We're doing a lot of damage. We pull our blowpipe, we get ready here, pray range. We also have thick skin on just in case. Blowpiping it, trying not to miss any DPS here while staying with the shield. And we just get the ranger in time, and then we tag the major right away so it stops hitting the shield. So I was pretty happy with that. That was a pretty good pretty good performance there, I feel like. I got the Ranger out in time. Otherwise, if we had to run out of range of the Ranger, that could have been troublesome. Anyways, back on Zuck here. We're trying to get Zuck to sub 600 HP. That way we pause the timer for the second set spawning. Very simple here. We just pray Mage, and we hit Zuck following the shield. Okay, a big hit there, and now we can turn our attention to just finishing off the Major since the set timer is paused. I wasn't sure if you could hit the Major from that tile. I actually don't think you can. If it was Jad, you can hit Jad from any of those tiles, but for the Major, I don't think so. We get rid of the Major there, back on the Zuck, and we're getting ready for a Jad spawn here at the 480 HP threshold. So there we go. Jad spawns. I never really know what the best camera angle here to deal with this situation is. I just kind of like move my camera on the fly. To be honest, you don't really need to have clear vision of Zuck. You just need to be able to see when the attack hits the shield. The healers come out on the Jad. We quickly blood barrage it. We don't actually need to deal any damage to the healers, so no gear switching there. We actually had very good DPS on this Jad, I feel like. And I was feeling pretty confident this entire time. I was like, this is going pretty cleanly. We haven't tanked any hits or anything like that. And right here, Jad is getting low. I'm mentally preparing that, you know, it's going to be finished off any second there. But I had to take an extra hit. I brew, and I'm like, okay, back on the Zuck, right? So I click Zuck right away. But that was costly. That put me, I don't know, if I had to guess, like just like one tick behind. And I ate a Zuck attack. And unfortunately didn't get lucky to tank it. So that was the end of day 2. And here on day 3, we're back at Zuck. I will say though, there was a clip of me dying before this Zuck. I think it was like wave 47 or 48. Just a silly misclick mistake. But attempt number 2 of day number 3, we make it to Zuck. And this time around, the shield goes to the left side, which means the set is going to spawn when we're on the left side, and the Major is going to be the closer mob. We're going to have to tag the Major first. DPS is not looking as good this time around. We hit a couple of zeros already. And yep, now we're making it back to the left side. A couple more hits here, and we're going to, there we go, turn on Pray Mage. We'll keep our T-bow out because we're just tagging the Major there. And we definitely cannot reach the Major from this side. So I try to sneak in an extra hit on Zuck. Hit a 0, of course. We now tag the Ranger. And if I was a better gamer, I would recognize that they were off-ticked here. At least I think they were. Yeah, they were. And I would have been able to flick range and mage. But I was just going for the tanking option here. I was trying to spec down the Ranger. And honestly, right here, I'm running without hitting the Ranger because I thought it was dead. But also, if we rewind it back, a lot to unpack there. I actually tanked a Zuck hit. But we get away with it. Just barely. And now we turn our focus to Zuck while protecting Mage. We're sitting at 16 health, and we only have 3 brew doses. The journey up to Zuck was much more rough this time around. It was nowhere near as clean, and we just used a lot more supplies. So, in the moment, from this point on, I was like, yeah, honestly, the chances are slim, but what am I going to do? You know, I spent an hour and, 45 minutes to get to this point. I'm going to have to stick it out and see if I can pull it off, right? I do have plenty of restores, and we just have to hope that redemption procs, right? But again, DPS, not as good as that first Zuck this time around. We're hitting a lot of zeros. We are potted, just unlucky on the hits, I guess. We finally get it to sub 600, so the timer is paused, and now we can get rid of the Major. Honestly, at this point, I was also thinking, You know, I wonder when the second set is going to spawn. We lost a lot of time there because of the DPS just not being there. But anyways, we focused the major down. We finish it off right there. And I think I make the choice to brew here because I know Jad is coming up and the healers could mess me up pretty badly there. So I brew up, now I'm out of brews. I repot the divine, not a divine, but a bastion pot. Jad spawns. Yeah, even the hits on Jad aren't as big as that first one. But, I mean, we did get away with taking a Zuck hit on this one, so... You know, you can't ask for everything. I even have the rapid heal, I think it's a prayer. Going on, just, you know, maybe 1 HP will save me in some situation, I don't know. Again, Jad healers. Barrage them to just to tag them, to get them, stopping them from healing the Jad. So yeah, right away, see, I'm already eating hits from the healers. Took an 8 there. If I was more confident, I'd be flicking the prey melee in between the Jad hits, but I just didn't have that level of confidence to do that. So this was the part where we died on the first Zuck. Jad's nearly dead. We're at actually exact same tiles too. But this time around we move and we shoot Jad so that we don't fall behind on the shield. So now that Jad's gone, we're sitting at 33 health with no brews left, and we're focusing down Zuck. We know healers are about to come. Again, in the back of my mind, like during this, I was just like, you know, there's a chance that the second set's gonna spawn at some point, like not ideal. If it happens mid healers, that's gonna be really bad. And even if the second set shows up at all, you know, I have no brews, I'm gonna be forced to like prey flick them, you know? But here, I turn on Redemption preemptively, getting ready for healers. If you didn't know, the best way, or best time to proc healers is when you're on the sides like this. So here, I'm hovering over the blowpipe, I'm like, T-Bow, please hit, we get the hit. And you want to proc healers when you're on the sides, that way you can tag all the healers in one rotation of the shield to stop them from healing Zuck. And then from that point on, you just blow pipe walk and try to get in as much hits as possible, as many hits as possible. We did get a redemption proc there, but unfortunately we didn't turn it back on in time. And that was our second Zuck. So at the time I actually didn't know I tanked a Zuck hit, so the confidence was still really high and we sent it straight back in. We make it to wave 47. We hop over to the east side of the pillar to drag the major over. And right here, you know, we're just getting ready to shoot the major. But then I realize a Nibbler is still on the pillar. So we try to get rid of that. But unfortunately, it takes us multiple attempts. We're currently eating blob and bat hits. And then we panic and run into the melee. Well, that's over and done with. On to the next attempt. Again, still on the same day. Wave 1 here. You know, we one-shot the Nibblers. Maybe that was a good sign. Get rid of the bat. First blob, get rid of that. We're moving and grooving here. I decided to tackle the blobs like that just to take as least amount of damage as possible. If you were a normal account on a normal run, you can definitely just kill the blobs anywhere and then just run up to them and barrage them, and usually you deal with them in one shot more times than not and barely take any damage. But what I found on a 50 defensive count was a slightly different story. So we get our first melee here paired with 2 bats. A little safe spot tile here, corner safe spot. 5 minutes in, we're already on wave 11. Now on wave 18, our first ranger. On these early waves and certain waves which are just kind of free, you can start from anywhere really, so I just start near the center so that I can get a good cast, a good ice barrage cast on the Nibblers. Rangers down. Now paired with the blob. Again, just feeling very comfortable in these situations. Flicking a ranger and a blob. We're just trying to speed through the early waves as fast as possible. And this is actually part of the process as to what makes the Inferno hard. The early waves are easy, but they still do punish you if you're not focused. Here on wave 29, I find that sometimes even for someone that has done a lot of Inferno, sometimes these waves catch you out. 29, 31, the ones where there's blobs and melees, sometimes, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, you know? Maybe I'm just not that good at the Inferno, which I do think is true. It's not like I have too many reps at the Inferno. But we get rid of the melee early there quick so it doesn't cause us any trouble, and the rest of that wave is pretty easy. Here on wave 30, again chasing nibblers, but feeling pretty comfortable. The melee is safe spotted on that east side of the pillar. And then we utilize the west pillar. Utilizing the west pillar is very underrated. There's actually a decent amount of situations where utilizing the west pillar is just a very simple solve. And right here, because we hide behind the west pillar, we're able to drag the ranger closer while still being safe spotted from the bat and the melee over there. It does dig though, but once again, west pillar, not a problem. Just hide behind the pillar from the ranger and finish off the melee. Here on wave 31, still feeling pretty comfortable, just trying to preserve the pillar halves. I'm not sure I see that one surviving nibbler there, and here I am just continuing with the rest of the wave. Getting rid of the melee first so it doesn't cause any issues when it digs later. And then the rest of the wave is a very easy solve. I do think here I had the blue moon top on, so that was a bit unfortunate. I finish off the wave and I'm like, oh look, I'm done. And then boom, I realized that this nibbler has been chomping on west pillar the entire time. Make it to the first major though. Again, starting in the middle of the room. Because the only thing that can attack me is the major, and as long as we keep praying mage on, we are good to go. Now we get a major and a blob. The bat back there is completely irrelevant. Just one tick alternating there to make it easy. Two bats in front and the major in the back, and the blob respawns, which is a bit unfortunate. So now instead of just flicking mage, we have to one tick alternate again. But we handled that, and we actually do a bit of ghost barraging here to heal back up. Heal back up to full, actually, 96. And next wave, we actually skip a couple of waves here. We're on wave 45. We got a major, a melee, and the blob. Nibbler's giving me trouble once again, but luckily we do get rid of that last one. Major's a little bit far out, so we deal with the melee first. And I think I actually turned the corner here to deal with the melee just to make it simple. But then I realized, you know, you can do the corner safe spot on this side of the pillar as well. And now we just focus the major. But then, of course, it digs, complicates things a little bit. And I just solve it by running through and trapping the melee on the other side. But now we have to melee, or we have to mage and range flick for the blob. Here's an interesting little angle we had to take to get the major to see us, for us to reach the major. Melee respawns, which is a bit of a pain in the ass every time that happens, but that was safe spotted as well. Here on wave 48, we got the melee coming towards us. We're nibbler chasing here, utilizing west pillar. Honestly, this was very, very risky, and I think, I'm not too sure here, but I could have been chanced a few times there. If the mage meleeed me, maybe. Honestly, maybe west pillar was not the play here, I don't know. But we get rid of the melee real quick while tanking the blob. And now we mage, range, one tick alternate to deal with the major and the blob. Yeah, in hindsight, maybe there was something better there. The melee honestly respawned very quickly. And luckily I was able to read this quickly and just hop on over to the other side of the pillar so that the melee could not reach me. We make it to wave 50. The first mage and range set shows up. Very simple. We're just dragging them closer to the pillar so that we can keep them isolated. Wave 51, very simple. And if the nibblers are ever on your pillar like this, you can actually stand in the tile I'm at next to the edge of the arena and reach those nibblers without showing yourself to the other side. So this was a little bit interesting here. First time I had to really do this. And here I am off-ticking the Ranger and the Major, which I feel like is pretty scary to do, although it's just not that difficult. It's the same as one-tick alternating anything else, really. But it's just scary because tanking a mage hit can end your run right then and there. Here I am on wave 55, and I was purposely just flicking Protect Mage to get the Major to spawn stuff so that I could heal off of them. In these waves 50 plus, I definitely have to start with as much health as I can to tank any potential range and blob hits. Here on wave 56, this was pretty free. Unfortunately, we just did not get very many good ice barrages, and once again, there are nibblers chomping on the south pillar. But we just one-tick alternate the Major and blob, deal with that. Now we're trying to save the pillar, and still not getting nibblers down. We're flicking the Ranger and blobs now. Another barrage goes off, and that thing is 1 HP. But I think at this point I'm just like, I'm over it. You know, we don't need that pillar. Or I just like simply didn't want to take the risk at that point. Get rid of one blob. And we're like, okay, let's go save the pillar. But that pillar lost a lot of health. Again, didn't catch the freeze on all the nibblers. I thought this melee would be safe spotted. That was a miscalculation. We get down to 5 health, real scary here. But luckily, I actually played this fairly well. Turned the corner, flicked the blob even. Safe spot the melee. And if I didn't flick that blob, I probably would have been chanced and most likely been dead. Or not probably chanced, I would have been chanced and most likely dead. Here on wave 62, a lot of damage taken off rip. We're flicking the blob, we're tanking the bat. Get rid of the bat, and I really wasn't sure what to do here, so I was like, okay, let me get the bat. And then I see the melee coming down on the east side. I actually killed the blob in time, which is pretty lucky, because if I was standing on this tower right here, I don't think I would have been in range to tag that blob. So because the mini blobs are out, I'm taking a little bit of a risk here. I'm just praying melee so I don't get chomped by the melee, and I blood barrage the blobs. Now the blob's out the way, we get rid of the melee. And we had this interesting stack here, and I cut the footage here by a lot, but I was standing around trying to figure out what to do. Now this right here is what you're supposed to do, except I messed up. I messed up my flicking, and I ate... I'm not sure what I ate there, but a 42 is no good. But luckily, a blob respawn in there. It was actually beneficial to me. Now the bat and the Ranger are isolated on one side, and the blob and Major on the other. So I elect to Ghost Barrage here, just to get as much health as possible in case I make any mistakes. Get rid of the bat, and at 30 health I feel a little bit more confident. And get rid of the Major, blob, and bat. On wave 63 now. Corner safe spot on the Ranger, we got the blob on the other side. Nibbler is chomping our pillar, which is not great. We take our time, turn the corner so we deal with the nibblers while flicking the Major and blobs. And then, I think this was the decision here that saved my wave. I decided to DPS down the melee first, rather than going for the Major. Because if it dug, I honestly wouldn't be too sure what I wanted to do there. I mean, I would know one step afterwards what to do. I could then corner safe spot it on the north side. But after that, that's when things get real rough. So here, instead of focusing the Major, I'm just buying myself time to think, right? As long as I clear the north side, I have more time to think. And flicking one blob like that, not a big deal at all. I turn the corner, start focusing on the Major, and then the Ranger just respawns right away. So I'm like, okay, now the blob's a little bit closer, let's get rid of this blob. That way I don't waste my supplies, and I buy myself time to think. Here I am, Mage, Range, one tick alternating the blob and the Major, and then the Ranger sneaks around the corner. I almost didn't catch that, but luckily I did. And from that point on though, this wave was solved, and it was free. It was just a matter of healing back up to prepare for wave 64, which we'll get to wave 64. It was interesting to say the least. Here we go, wave 64. You know, nothing too crazy right now. Major and melee on one side. I delete the nibblers, which is great. Now I'm DPSing down this one melee. I mess up there though. See, this is the dangers of flicking if you're not sure on the timing. But I get rid of that melee. However, there's still one more lurking there. But I'm already kind of like panicked here because, you know, I just nearly ended my run. So here I'm thinking, okay, the majors there is fine, but that melee is about to dig. So I jump over to this side. I pray range, which is fine. And I'm like, okay, let me alternate and off-tick the ranger and major and run around so the melee doesn't get me. But then I don't know, this is just extra motion here. I miss a couple of flicks. I turn the corner and I think I'm safe from the range here, but I'm not. I think I tick eat once there, realize I'm still getting hit by the ranger, and then I make it behind the pillar to where only the major sees me. Wave 64 is typically not dangerous at all. Once you make it past 62 and 63, you're home free, right? And that's what people typically think anyways, but evidently not. Evidently not for me. This is a bit scary too, the melee dug, but luckily we killed the major in time and we immediately flicked the prey melee. But that was the end of wave 64. And on 65 you just have to make sure that either both the rangers see you or just the major sees you, you know, like one or the other. You can't have the major and ranger see you. Again, 66. Don't risk it, just keep prey mage on. First Zuck, or not first Zuck, first Jad. Honestly, as a 50 defense account, these healers were really messing me up. But here I am tagging the healers, and I think we're getting ready to do the run through. I don't quite remember, to be honest. Yes, we are, because we're bringing that one last healer over. And you can see we're just taking so much damage. I say that as I proceed to watch myself just tank zeros, but yeah, here we go. I was actually a little scared here, and I was prepping the run through. I get hit for 32 by the healers as I run through. But get the job done there. Now we can safely barrage them from the other side. And once we heal back up, that's the end of the first Jad. Here we are at triples. Healers spawn on the first Jad. I always like to kill the one that's by itself on the south side first. That way I can reposition my camera afterwards to get the other two clearly in view. Just dealing with the healers there. Just tanking one was not too bad that time around. On the second Jad, we actually just blood barraged them early to heal back up. Got rid of the second Jad, and this time around, we were very careful. I made sure on this triple Jad to be very careful after what happened on the very first time. Where I was just looking too far ahead and not focusing on, you know, what was immediately happening. We do the run through here, heal ourselves back up to full HP. And down goes the third Jad. Although, I guess we weren't hitting very hard here. We just hit 3 straight zeros. 4 straight zeros. But down goes the last Jad. So, I believe this is our third Zuck. And on day number 3. The shield goes to the left side, so we're going to be on the major side. A 60 and a 65 to start, so feeling pretty good about that. But this was the third Zuck, so I was feeling even more confident. Again, at the time, I did not know that on the second Zuck, I actually tanked a hit. Obviously, on the first one, we just ate a 90, and that was really tragic. But I had no idea I tanked a hit on the second one. I was just so focused on the ranger there. But anyways, here on the third Zuck, DPS isn't bad. The set spawns. Tag the major right away. We look ahead to the ranger. T-bow it because we're out of range, switch to a blowpipe. And we actually tanked pretty well here to start with, a 19 and a 16. Our blowpipe specs though, that second blowpipe spec hit a 0, so that was very unfortunate. Right there, I did have to Tiki. I was under 46 HP, which I believe is the max hit of the Ranger. And even though it hit, I think, a 0 on me, I still had to Tiki there to make sure. But Ranger is dead. We took a lot of damage there, but we got it done. And now we DPS Zuck to try and pause the timer as quickly as possible. Honestly, good hits on this run. We got the timer paused already. I'm just brewing back up in preparation for Jad. I do this now because, again, the timer is paused, so we're not wasting any time here. We re-Bastion pot, DPS the Major now. Back on the Zuck, getting ready for the Jad. Had my Prey Mage on here for no real reason, I guess, but I mean, Prayer's not exactly hurting, so we're fine there. We start Jad. I think this was actually a very humble Jad. It rarely switched attack styles. It was mostly ranging us. Yeah, like right there, that was like 3 range hits in a row. We proc healers. And I was just playing it safe there. I felt like I was going to fall behind on the shield if I tried to barrage, so I just ran to the corner instead. Waited till I was back here again to barrage. Finally a mage hit, which luckily we weren't lulled into a false sense of security there, and we were still paying good attention on that. We had thick skin here to tank the healers. Again, just didn't feel confident to switch to Prey melee. I'd be scared that I might like switch too early and then eat the Jad hit. So the healers did do a, or not the healer, yeah, the healers, the Jad healers did do a number on me, and I'm now down to 1 Brudos. We're getting ready for healers here, hoping to proc it on this side. Hovering over our blowpipe, but our T-bow's not hitting. Okay, there we go. A big hit. Got redemption on. A little misclick there was scary, but luckily we recovered from that. There we go. We tagged all the healers. It's more important to tag all the healers rather than killing them one specifically. That way you get the healers off of Zuck. Zuck is currently at 439 health, so that's not too bad, I don't think. And now we just blowpipe run to try and get rid of the healers. Taking big damage here. That was like 20 damage in like 1 tick. Redemption goes off. And here, I chose to brew first. That way, like, you know, if it takes me a while to turn redemption back on, which actually it did, I wouldn't just die right away, which I think was a great call. Brewing there, saving 1 dose for that. We recover, we finish off the healers, and I'd say the only mistake here is that I'm currently not potted. I brewed and I did restore, but I didn't re-bastion. So, I don't know, that's like 3-4 hits, maybe even 5 there where I realized I wasn't potted. But I do realize there. And Zuck is already sub 200 HP. At this point, it's just a race against the clock to see whether or not the second set spawns. I didn't use any plugins or have anybody else or any timer of sorts really on the sets. I was just winging it. I really didn't think a second set would be a problem at all. But you know, in the moment you just never know for sure. So I was just making sure I wasn't missing any hits here. And right there, Last hit. We got the job done. 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 53 seconds. Our first cape on a 50 defense, 63 prayer account. We put that bad boy on right away. I think from here, I just gotta sit here for a moment and just take it all in, you know, the adrenaline and all that. Just kind of looking at my own character. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I teleported out of the Czar City, honestly. Being there the last couple of days, I'm kind of tired of seeing it, so I TP'd out to the POH right away just to hang out with my main, or my maxed iron. My main is unbonded, sitting at the GE somewhere. So it's been a few minutes, so hopefully the adrenaline is wearing off now and I can speak coherently and, you know, gather my thoughts here. Obviously, this is my first go around on the Inferno. In fact, it's the third account now with their Inferno cape, but something is just so different doing it on a restricted account. 50 defense and 63 prayer. 50 defense being the biggest thing, honestly. I feel like our 63 prayer was mitigated by the fact that, you know, we don't have rigor anyways, so the prayer drain was much less. And of course, the new potions, the prayer regeneration potions. I bought in 3 of these, so 12 doses, and we come out of it with just 1 dose left. So with every time that I go back to the Inferno, I learn a little bit more. And on a 99 defense account, or a heavily geared and high defense account anyways, I learned that you can mostly ignore the blobs and start flicking them when you're ready. It's not a big deal at all to just flick them when you can, or just tank them until you're ready to do so. The focus is always to pray correctly against the Major and the Ranger. And likewise with the melees. It's very easy to just pull out your blowpipe, spec it down, if you're having to tank it, you know, and say you're not sure if you can off-tick, or maybe you're not in a situation where you can do that. However, those 2 things I just mentioned were kind of out the window on a 50 defense account. I could sometimes get away with it, but the melees were definitely chomping me, and the blobs would stack up damage quickly if I didn't react. So those 2 things were really just out the window. With that being said, I feel like I definitely had less time to think on the waves and I had to react more quickly. And there was definitely an element of luck. By no means did I play perfectly. I'm sure I tanked a lot of hits and survived situations where maybe I was chanced, you know? But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with what happened because I did at least do the Zuck fight perfect. No luck required, got the CA done. And I feel like a 148 on this account is pretty impressive. Right now, on my other 2 accounts that are max combat, they have PBs of like high 120s, low 130s. So to be only 15-20 minutes slower on this account on the first KC, I feel like this was definitely my best cape, all things considered. So typically in my videos, I don't do post commentary. I always just say something on the fly, which is why sometimes, you know, you hear a load of gibberish from me, but, you know, I record the clip live, I commentate live, and I don't tend to go back in post. However, as of right now, I feel like it'd be a good idea to go back in the Inferno run, show the footage, and maybe in certain situations kind of break down what I'm going to do. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, because this clip is going to be at the end of the video, and then you guys would already see the footage of me yapping while doing the Inferno. So, but this is just to let you know it's post commentary if it wasn't obvious already. So here I am at Otto's Grotto Barbarian Fishing. We actually gained a level recently. We went from 88 to 89, and this is the day after completing the Infernal Cape. I've just been chilling here because I've been focused on editing the video. It's a pretty big one, I'm sure, as you've seen watching this, if you've made it this far. But yeah, anyways, over the last couple of weeks, we worked on getting the quiver, and then just yesterday, the Infernal Cape. And during that duration, we allowed ourselves to use any items, namely the Twisted Bow and the Scythe of Vitter, to get those 2 achievements over and done with. Now, looking forward, we have to ask ourselves, are we just going to give ourselves free reign on any items and any supplies? I've been pretty lenient on the supplies, but as for items, I've been more strict on that. I kind of hesitated to just give myself just about anything because I don't want to cheat myself or rob myself of progress. Right now, as for what's next, I'm looking at either doing Dragon Slayer 2 to get the Vorkath backpack, because as of right now, even though we have a quiver, anytime we're using range weapons, we're actually losing out on a lot of darts or arrows because they're just dropping on the ground. And I mean, no matter how much I keep up with it, I'm just not going to be able to pick up all the darts or arrows that I lose. And the other thing we're looking towards is Zenyte jewelry. Even though we do have a full set of, you know, Anguish, Tormented Bracelet, Suffering, and all that on Wait For It, we do need a second set for this account. And it would only make sense for us to earn it ourselves. So we have to do Monkey Madness 2, and that includes getting 69 Slayer. We're currently at 60. With these potential grinds coming up next, I have no issue just keeping the account to where it's at right now and using, you know, my Blade of Saeldor or the Eclipse Atlatl to farm Demonic Gorillas, or, you know, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Vorkath, but we'll figure that out. But raids are on the horizon, whether that's TOA, Chambers of Xerix, or more Theater of Blood, which we actually have about like 3 or 4 KC. I snuck a couple of those in quite some time ago. But when it comes to those grinds, I think that's when I have to really decide how I'm going to approach giving myself items. Do I want to give myself a Twisted Bow so that I have access to the challenge mode Chamber of Xerix right away? Or do I want to start from scratch, or rather, like, you know, what I already have on this account and work my way up from there? Chambers might be a pretty bad example because if you didn't know, I did do a grueling 1 year plus long of solo CMs. Wait For It has like 1.1k solo CM KC on top of like 300, 400 regular Chambers KC. And that's how long it took me to get a Twisted Bow. So for Chambers, I'm really not sure if I want to do another potential 1,000 Chambers with a Twisted Bow. But yeah, that's just a really good example of things I have to consider. And to tell you the truth, right now, I don't have it figured out. But I will have it figured out before we start any raids grinds, because that's going to change the dynamic and the grind that we're going to do, whether that's just going to be from a collection log standpoint or if we're actively gaining upgrades for our account. With all that being said, I think I'm going to wrap up this video now. I know it's a pretty long one, but it is a very big achievement for me personally, having done a 50 defense, 63 prayer Infernal Cape, especially in the context that, for those of you that don't know, actually I'm not sure I've ever shared this, so I don't think anybody knows, but back on my very first cape on my normal account, that took me hundreds of attempts. It was weeks on end, I think even months. I might have taken like a couple of weeks break just from burnout, but I got it done after like, I believe it was 15 Zucks. It took me the 15th Zuck attempt to finally stop joking and get that first cape. So to go from that to this cape just in 3 Zuck attempts on a 50 defense, 63 prayer account, I'm personally very proud of that. And one last note, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that even with the release of the Colosseum and the Quiver, I think the Inferno is still a bigger achievement.